This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome, boys and girls from Shelton Park Elementary, Pembroke Meadows Elementary and Parkway Elementary. So Shelton Park and Parkway are both new to SafariLive, so welcome. We hope you enjoy this exciting drive. My name is Patrick. Joining me today on camera is Senzo, and I'm sure you and your teachers have all your questions lined up for us, ready for this drive. So what we have over here is an impala. Now this impala is a boy. Now how can we tell that this one is a boy? Well, it's very, very simple. Just look there on its head. And what do you see? Well, there's 2 ears, but there's also 2 horns. And that is how we tell the difference between an impala ram, which is what we call the boy, and an impala ewe, which is what we call the girl. Just like sheep, you've got your rams and your ewes. So this one is by itself, which is very strange to see with impala. Well, not so much for males. The females, though, will always stay in a group. But this time of the year, they tend to be in very, very large herds. So to see one by itself is a little bit sad. I hope he's not lonely. He's definitely not cold. It's a very warm day over here in Djuma Game Reserve on the western fringes of the Kruger National Park here in South Africa. Isn't that cool? We're coming to you all the way from South Africa. He's looking right at us, giving us a bit of a stare. So back to those horns. I know we all love the horns of these antelopes. And what they actually use this for is like a fight between a male and a male to get a girl. It's almost like they have swords on their heads and they're having a sword fight using their head. We see this a lot around, or about a month ago, we were seeing this a lot, and it's starting to settle down now. It has stayed very still for us. It's been very nice, letting us have a very good look at it. Well, I'm going to continue on because I actually wanted to find a leopard to show to you all today. In the meantime, though, I'm going to send you over to my good friend Tristan.
Well, Pat, you are very lucky that they sat still. Impalas can sometimes be very, very tough to be able to actually follow and sort of see moving around. So Pat got a little bit lucky. Now, it's a very good afternoon to all of you. I'm glad that you've joined us this afternoon. My name is Tristan, and on camera I've got Craig this afternoon. And we're coming to you live, and hopefully we're going to hear lots and lots and lots of questions from all of you. Just remember to ask your teacher and she'll send them through to us. So basically what we're going to do this afternoon is we're going to try and check a lot of the little water points. So places like this on my left-hand side, you see that there is a little kind of muddy wallow. Now, what happens here is generally this is a place where rain will fall and water will collect, and things like buffalo and elephants and rhinos and will come here and they will mud wallow, and they make this bigger and bigger and bigger because they kick out the dirt and they spray themselves and they rub the mud on them, and then that little pan will actually grow. But it's a perfect place when it's a hot afternoon like this for all of those animals to come down to drink. It's also a really nice place for something like leopard or lions to spend time, because these little small wallows are not big enough to house crocodiles, and so much safer for those cats to drink somewhere here. It's also got a nice little bit of shade around it in the form of all these trees, and so these are really popular places for leopards and lions to kind of spend their time. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little kind of meander around all the water points that I know of, and we're going to try and see if we can pick up maybe a herd of ellies on one of them. David, why do lions like to eat meat? Well, David, quite simply because lions like the taste of meat. It's something that they are born to like, and for their digestive system, so their tummy, can only process that kind of food. If they eat things like grass, it makes them sick, and they'll actually regurgitate things like hair and bone that they can't digest, but they are designed to be able to, and evolved to be able to feed on meat and to be able to processed meat. That's why they like it and why they go after it. You have to have animals like lions out here, because otherwise all the other animals, the things like the impalas, well, their numbers would just get more and more and more and more and more, and there would eventually be too many impalas that they would eat all of the grass and the leaves and everything like that, and then there wouldn't be enough food for even them, and they would all die. So there has to be a predator that is there, that is able to just make sure that those prey numbers don't get out of control and that the system is nice and balanced. So that's why lions have to eat meat, and they just like it because, well, that's what their tummy kind of can handle, and then on top of that is what they're taught to eat by their moms when they're little cubs. So they know that from the beginning this is the things that they must eat, and then once they've kind of gotten onto it, then they love a good fresh piece of meat, although lions will sometimes even eat rotten meat. Now, I'm pretty sure, given that it's so hot, that our cats will be quite sort of sleepy at this time. They generally like to find a bit of shade and lie down and rest, and so they're not going to be moving too much, but the ellies will be quite active. They'll kind of probably be up and down, moving towards any water, just to try and get as much as possible. So hopefully we're going to get lucky. Right, now Pat and I are down here in sunny South Africa, where it is very, very warm, but there is also another friend of ours that is out and about, and he is all the way up in Kenya's Masai Mara, and he wants to say good afternoon.
Well, hello and good afternoon. Welcome to Masai Mara. I am Isaac Rotich, and with me is Bungei, my cameraman. And today it is suddenly quite different this afternoon. We had a little bit of a drizzle, and then it stopped, and the skies have cleared. It is very beautiful. It's very rainy towards the Serengeti, and I'm taking you towards a few animals that are very close to our camp. We are staying local today. We are not going to go very far. I have buffalo, I have lion, I have a giraffe around me here, so I don't have to go very far. I really am grateful. It's rather tricky to get to where they were, and so I'm maneuvering with the help of Bungei directing me, because I'm talking to the camera at the same time driving. Oops, this is what happens. Okay, excuse me. Jaden, sorry, I had the name, but I didn't understand the question. Could you please come again? Jaden, all the animals here are wild. We don't have any that is not wild. All of them are wild. I don't know if I answered you correctly, but the ones we have here, there is none that belongs to human. We don't have domestic dogs, we don't have cats, we don't have horses, we don't have donkeys. We have elephants, giraffes, lions, hyenas, hippos, crocodiles. Those are the ones we have, and all of them are very wild. I think I'm clear now, and I'm gonna take you to the beautiful giraffe. What you see, the mountain you see over there, it's a Olololo Siri escarpment, and I can see the giraffes in front of me. Before I get there, I'll link you back where you can see some other animals that are closer, the wildebeest down in Duma.
Well, we have found another type of antelope here, a wildebeest. So before we had an impala, which is also called an antelope, and now we have a different type of antelope called the wildebeest. And something that ties all antelope together is that they all have 4 legs that have hooves on it, just like a horse. And they also all bear horns and have that kind of deer-like shape. They kind of all resemble a deer in some way or another. Now, this one is also different from the impala in that both the boys and the girls have horns. So if you remember me saying with the impala that just the boys have horns, with this species, it's both. And there is a reason for this. It's because
the ones we're looking at now, the wildebeest, they like open areas where there's not many trees. Just like this one here, we can see it's a bit clearer than some of the other areas. And so that means that the females have to be a bit more defensive of their young because they're out in the open. Whereas a species like the impala, they prefer to be in thicker, denser vegetation. So that means that they can hide a little bit more efficiently and don't need to defend themselves as much. So that's why only the males have horns, because only the males will need to fight. So it's very interesting, very cool. And we can also see that big long tail swishing about there. That's also very different to the impalas. It's almost horse-like, isn't it? Sorry, Jamari, I just didn't catch that question. I'll just listen out for it one more time. Jamari, do wildebeest run fast? Yes, they do. They run very fast. And we will see this a lot in the calves. So I'll just creep forward a little bit because I can actually see a calf here, a little young one. And these guys run around all day. They'll just run in a straight line. Straight up and back, straight up and back. And so they're very quick. So, hey? Oh, you don't have a view? Sorry. I'm just going to get this in a position where we can see this calf, because you'll notice it's a very different colour to the adult. Oh, it's gone behind a bush. I'm sorry, everyone. It's gone behind a bush, so we'll just have to stick with the one we were on, or I can move forward a little bit. I'll see if I can find it again. And they also need to be really fast to avoid predators as well. These guys get hunted by lions a lot, so they need to be very quick to get away from their clutches. So here we go. Now we've got some calves to show you all. So we can see there, so the lighter brown coloured ones, they're actually baby wildebeest, born not too long ago. Now they're very clever. They can walk very soon after they're born. Not like you or I when we were little babies. It took us years. Jamari. Hello, Jamari. Well, they keep flicking their tails because there's a lot of insects around. There's a lot of rain around this time of year, which means that there's a lot of little nasty bugs that like to get on and bite. So they will flick their tail to get them away, just like you or I would with a fly swat. And it's also to protect their bottoms, because their bottoms are a very sensitive area, and so it just gives a bit of protection from the outside world. I wish I had a tail sometimes being out here so I could just swat all the flies away. Marianne, what do the wildebeest eat? Well, they are what we call grazers. And what a grazer is something that just eats grass all day. So when we see something with its head down feeding on grass, that is what we call grazing. And so we can see even they're doing it right now. One of them there has their head to the ground, the one on the right, and it is eating up all the grass, grazing, just like a cow, just like a cow. Okay, so I was on the search for a leopard, so I am going to press on, but seeing as we've started a bit of an antelope theme, I'm also going to be stopping for any antelope I see along the way that are different from the two that we have looked at, just so you can see just how different they all are. Now, Clifton Park Elementary, that name was ringing a bell in my head. It kept clicking something. I feel like I've heard it before, and I think, I'm not sure, but if it's the same Clifton Park, then I've actually met you all before underwater on a live dive. So it's the same thing we're doing now, except underwater. And I remember we did it with a Clifton Park, so I'm not sure if it's the same elementary school as you guys, but if so, it's good to see you all again. All right, I'm going to have a quick check in here and see what we can find in the thickets of the drainage line. I'm going to send you across to Tristan in the meantime.
Well, good luck, Pat. Hopefully you find your leopard and hopefully it'll be somewhere close by. There's a good chance if you are around lots of prey animals. Often leopards can be quite close to where things like impalas and wildebeest are hiding out. Fortunately for us, we haven't. Pat's found a lot more than we have already this afternoon. We had a brief view of some impalas that were milling about, and that's really about it. And so it's quite warm still. I would imagine a lot of the animals are trying to stay in the shade at the moment. Often what happens is that you'll find that they'll get in under shade and they'll sit there, and then as it starts to get kind of a little warmer, so you're going to start to kind of see, I mean cooler, so to say, you're going to start to see them coming out a little bit more. So hopefully the afternoon goes on, we will hopefully find things. Good, we're going to keep going southwards. We're going to head towards the next dam. While we do that, though, back across to Isaac, who's got a very big journey of tall creatures.
Well, boys and girls, look what we have here. The tall one, the giraffe. And this is called a journey of giraffes. As you can tell, there is a stream they are crossing there. That's why they're in a line. I would like you to ask me as many questions as possible about this tall mammal, this tall giraffe. They stand about 19 feet tall, and these ones here are a few, and you can tell that they are looking to the right keenly. You see the one facing to the right? He's looking at something. I don't know what he's looking at. The others have gone back because I don't know. Joshua, why do giraffes have long necks? Very good question. It is their nature to have long necks because they need to feed on tall trees. They cannot feed down, go down and feed on grass, so they have to feed up somewhere quite high, about 18 to 20 feet high, and that's why they have the long necks for feeding, to help them enrich their food. I think that is the most appropriate question I would give you, so that they can feed on tall trees. These two are females. Females have got those, short horns with hairy tufts on top. Giraffes have got very, very good eyes. You look at their noses and their mouth, they have a prehensile lip. Please, Bungay, could you zoom into their mouths so we can see that? You will see that they have prehensile lips. They look like fingers, but thick fingers. This helps them pluck leaves off, thorny trees and trees. You see how pointed they are? And also, you can see how pointed their mouths and faces are. This is so that they can penetrate into thick bushes and not get disturbed by the bushes. So it's easy to penetrate into bushes. Giraffes have got very good eyesight, and I'm sure they can see me where I am. Here in the Masai Mara, we have very many trees for them to feed on, and that's why we have them in great numbers. Look at them, how beautiful they are. You look at the guy who's coming to the right. Just count 1, 2, 3 from the left, and then the fourth one. Look at his horns. Ava, good question. They look like they're walking very slowly, but can you imagine taking a stride that is 15 feet long? We only take about 3 feet. They take 15 feet. So one of theirs is 5 of ours. It might look slow, but actually in real life, they walk much faster than us. If we were to walk down a football pitch slowly at a gentle pace, you and a giraffe, the giraffe will get there before you get there. Just imagine 1 pace, in 5 paces, for them it's 1 pace. They don't walk slowly. It's only that they look like they walk slowly. Look at that female. She's got a deformed ear. Do you see that? The one from the left, count 1, 2. And you look at her ears. She's looking to the right now, so we can see that. I don't know if it was deformed, but we'll confirm right now. I don't think so. Let me see. Yeah, she looks like an old lady. Giraffes live for 25 years, and sometimes when they get older, their heads become paler, just like we humans. We go gray and sometimes bald. For them, they go pale. You see that third one from the left? I was trying to explain this earlier. Look at the horns. They're much thicker, and they lack the brushes on top, the hairy tufts. You look at that? Giraffe horns are actually not true horns. They are called ossicons. Ossicons are a part of a brain, like a skull, and they have skin around. Horns are small hairs compressed, which form what we call keratin. These are horns, but not true horns. We call them ossicons. Look at a female. Bungei, please zoom into a female for me so we can see the difference. Look at these two. You look at their horns. See, they're less thicker. They have those hairy tufts on top. That is the difference between a male and a female from a distance. They seem not to be, they're not comfortable at all when I read their body language. And they keep looking to my right. Well, I did get the question, but I didn't get the answer. Sorry. Maybe you'll have to repeat that. But the answer to that, they are very much the same as these giraffes. Daisy, when a giraffe is born, it's the same color, what you see here. Brown, beige pattern, just what you see here. They look very much the same. It's only that they are very cute and very wary. They start looking around. They start, observing things around. They're very cute when they're born. One day I'll show you one. You see, like this little one, he's about maybe 4 months old. You see how curious he is? He's looking at something to my right. Look at that, beautiful. You see the patch on their knees? It's from when they sit down and get up. That is one part that they use to push themselves up and also like support themselves when they go down. That's why they have that dark patch on their knees. Look at this. They keep looking to my right. I don't know what is there, but after this I'll go look what is there. This is a female. Look at the horns, what I was telling you about. Look at how she's walking. You see how she walks right and right, left and left, right and right. Haley, good question. They do have very good sense of smell. They can smell very, very well. And it's useful for them because I think it helps them differentiate different types of trees that they eat. You see how they walk? Left and left, right and right, left and left, right and right. That is called ambling. Ambling, it's called in giraffes. Do you know that it's the world's tallest mammal? It is the world's tallest mammal. Chene, they actually look like small, but irrelevant to their heads. They are very proportional. And for them, because they can use eyesight to see far, they don't need big ears to listen to other sounds, or like they can depend on their eyes. They don't depend very much on they depend on their eyes, and because they are tall, they are given very good eyesight. So their ears, in proportion to their head, they are correct, and they don't need as big ears as other animals. Smaller animals like small antelope have got big ears because they need to listen because they don't see very far. That is a male coming. You see the difference I was telling you? While I enjoy my giraffes here, I'll take you down to Tristan with some beautiful elephants.
Well, while you enjoy your giraffe, we are going to sit with the largest of our mammals here and the animal that we were looking for. So we were saying we were going to go try see if we could find some ellies somewhere out and about, and we came across some tracks, some very, very fresh tracks, as well as some dung that was still wet. And in heat like this, elephant dung dries very, very fast, and you'd see a little crust kind of form on the elephant dung that would make it easy to tell that it had been maybe this morning as opposed to now. And so when we saw that it was still fresh and still wet, then you know that you can find them really easily. And so we just did a little loop around. I thought they might have gone for water first, but it seems as though they've just come into the shady section in order to feed. Remember that these guys, they need a lot of food during the course of the day, and so while it's still sometimes hot, they'll find little shady sections and they get in underneath there to be able to eat. Well, are elephants really afraid of mice? So they're not afraid of mice as in terms of because it's a mouse they're going to run away. What happens with elephants is that they startle when things move quickly around them. So they are not a fan or not an animal that likes when there's sudden movement around them. And so what happens with mice is mice all of a sudden come out of a piece of grass or bush right at their feet and very fast. And that gives them a little bit of a fright because they don't see it coming, and then they sometimes react to it and move away from where that is. So it's not so much that they are scared of a mouse as in the animal, but they're scared of that movement more than anything else, and the way that a mouse, they can't see it coming and they don't hear it coming, and so all of a sudden there's this kind of movement and this noise right at their feet, and they don't like that. They like to be able to see everything and be able to watch things approach them or see what's around them in terms of their environment. And so that's why mice can sometimes scare elephants. It's not that the elephant kind of would be scared if they saw the mouse running down the road, then you'd find that they'd be okay, but it's more the speed at which they move and how close they are to the elephants when they generally are disturbed. Now, this particular ellie here is a bull elephant, a young male. So he's a little boy, and he looks like he's in his teens still. So he is just looks as though he's being kind of moved out. I think he's a bull ellie. I actually was just kind of looking at him feeding, and then it's actually not a bull elephant at all. Now that I look closely, it's a girl. You can see that her kind of head is much more squared on. I was so busy kind of just watching and seeing it on its own that I was thinking that it's a boy, but it's not. It's actually a girl, so I do apologize. It's got a much more squared off forehead, which is typical of females. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, you said Summer wants to know, what do African elephants do? Is that what you said? Or did I miss that? Anyway, if that's the case, then what? Okay. Well, what they do is they essentially spend all day doing this. So when they're not feeding on vegetation, they generally are going to be looking for water. And then finding some places to sleep every now and then. So elephants in general mostly eat, though, and the reason why they need to eat is because an elephant needs to eat a huge amount of weight to be able to sustain such a big body. So normally at this time of the year, because the green grass is grown and it's summery time and there's lots of leaves, they need to eat about 4% of their body weight. Now 4% of the body weight of a really big male elephant is close to sort of 600 pounds of food a day, which is a crazy amount of food. And so they need to spend pretty much all day trying to get it. When they're not doing that, though, water then becomes the next biggest priority. They need to drink a lot of water every day, and so they then go and drink. And every now and then, they also need to rest a little bit. And what they do when they rest is they'll find a tree, especially if it's a big old animal. They don't really like to lie down too much. If they've got small tusks like this, then they'll go find a tree and they'll go lie down there. If it's a big male who's got massive tusks, they'll kind of often go and find like a bank on a river or a termite mound that's got a little slope to it. It's a little 45-degree slope, and they'll go and lie up against the slope, and they'll just kind of have a bit of a rest and take the weight of those tusks off. But a lot of the adults actually sleep standing up, which is I suppose uncomfortable for us, but works for elephants. Left, this is an interesting question because for the most part, people would say no, they don't come in different colors, but that's not necessarily true in terms of there is some things that can influence the color of an elephant. So elephant skin color in its natural form is generally this gray coloration that you see here. Our elephants in this particular part of the world are often dark like this because the substrate of the soil, so the type of soil that we have, is very, very dark. And so when they mud wallow or they throw sand on themselves, generally it's this much darker coloration. Some places you go to will have a lot more clay in the soil, which gives the soil a much more red color, and the elephants take on that reddish tone because of all the soil and mud that they've packed on them. And then you get a genetic color variation, which is basically a thing called leucism. And so leucism essentially is when the elephant doesn't produce the right pigments to be able to be a dark color like this, and they can have lots of little bits of pink on them. And it's not bright neon pink, it's a very, very dull kind of soft skin kind of pinky color that you get, and they will sometimes have it particularly around their ears, the inside of their legs, and that can be a sign that that animal is what we call leucistic. So essentially it hasn't got the melanin cells, which is what causes dark pigments and dark coloration of skin. It doesn't have those, and that causes it to be a much lighter coloration. So it's not an albino. So a lot of people will call animals like that albinos. It's not that. These leucistic elephants generally will have different colored eyes as well, in terms of they'll have like blue eyes, which is unusual, and not the normal kind of amber colored eyes that you see in this one. So I suppose there is a few different kind of bits of coloration, but there's not really huge changes. It's not like you get a yellow elephant and a blue elephant and a pink elephant. You'll get kind of those ellies that will have a few patches of their skin that will have a bit of different color, and those ellies often have a lot of trouble because that skin is generally very sensitive to the sun, and they need to be quite careful. And then obviously the substrate of the actual soil that they have around them, so whether there's dark soil or light soil or red soil or very white soil, that will often affect the coloration of elephants, and so it will appear as though they're almost a different color. Now you'll notice that this ellie is feeding very, very close to where I am. That's the front of the car there. And so we're being very spoilt this afternoon because having ellies this distance away from us is a very, very special thing. But you need to be a little bit careful when you kind of spend time with elephants, because elephants can be quite dangerous, and there's a few things that you need to use to be able to tell if an elephant's angry with you or if it's happy with you to be here. Now, a lot of people will often say if an elephant flaps its ears, it's angry. That is not true. So you'll see that this elephant here is flapping its ears almost the whole time that we're sitting here. There's a lot of flapping going on, and that is all to do with temperature. It's not showing us that it's angry at all. It's trying to control its temperature as best that it can. And so if you look on the back of the ear, you'll see that there's going to be a whole bunch of very, very thick, very sort of big veins. Can you see them there? They almost look like little fingers coming out, and so those veins have the blood of the elephant flowing through them. It's covered by a very thin layer of skin, and so as that animal flaps, it's actually pulling air over that blood network and those veins, and it's cooling that blood down. And so it works just like a car. When the engine of a car gets very hot, it has what's called a radiator, and the radiator has fluid in it, and as you drive, the movement of air through that fluid cools that fluid down, which helps to keep the engine much cooler. And so that's how it works with elephants. And so their flapping of ears is vitally important for them to be able to stay nice and cool. And when they're upset, their ears actually, funny enough, don't flap at all. Their ears will come forward, and they will be as far forward as possible, and they will then lift their head and try and show that they are really big, and they'll stop feeding. Whereas you can see here, this elephant hasn't stopped feeding at all while we've been sitting with it. So it's completely relaxed with us, which is very, very special. Good. We're going to sit with our ellies a little while longer. I see there's some more in the background that are hopefully going to make an appearance just now. And so while we wait for them to come, let's send you back across to Isaac in the Mara.
Well, I did show you all a single impala just before, but just to show you how lonely that poor boy was, look how many we have here. It's an impala party right now. They are all over the place. So there's the ewes, which I'm going to ask you guys to guess what to remember what the ewes were, and the rams. But there's also the youngs here as well, which is what we call a lamb. just like with sheep once again. So there's so many here. We can't even fit them all in the camera. There's so many. Now, if you remember me saying about how the wildebeest eat grass, and they are grazers, well, so are impala. But impala are special because they will also do what is called browsing. So what is the difference between browsing and grazing? Well, browsing is when they're not on the ground. It's when they're picking stuff out of the trees, just like this ram is doing. And we've actually got a ewe doing it as well. No, that one's browsing. There we go. That's the one I was talking about. That ram right there. So that is exactly what we call browsing, which is picking out all the fruit and nuts off the tree. And this one is having a real nice feed there. It's a bit funny that these horns don't get stuck, actually. They're quite good at manoeuvring their horns. I've only ever seen one antelope, which is a really big one called a kudu, ever get its horn stuck in the tree. Michael, impala can run very fast. So they are very athletic animals, and they're smaller than the wildebeest that we saw before. So that means that there's even more predators that will attack them. So leopards will readily take an impala. So they have to be very quick to be able to outrun these predators. All antelope are pretty blessed with speed. They can all run very fast. Now, I do apologise to Shelton Park. I was accidentally calling you Clifton Park. I got Clifton and Shelton mixed up. So I hope your teacher doesn't put me in too much trouble for that. Maybe I'll just get sent to the naughty corner for 5 minutes. Very nice. Yes, I do have detention, I think. I'm going to stay around after this drive and think about my consequences. Ooh, now I've got a lovely... Ooh, now nice. Beautiful little lamb here. Everett, why do they have such tiny ears? Well, they don't have tiny ears. I don't think they're tiny. I think it's because they have a bigger body-to-ear ratio that they look smaller. But they're quite large ears, about the size of a bunny rabbit's. And they're very good at hearing. They have a very great sense of smell. Sense of hearing. They also do have a great sense of smell. They have very good senses, these impala. They really have to be on their game, as I said, to avoid all of these predators. So the lambs that we're looking at, they're probably only a few weeks old, maybe just over a month, some of them. So very new to the world. And just like the wildebeest, they also come out ready to rock and roll. Well, I'm going to leave this party, let it rage on. Let's send you back up to the Mara, where Isaac has something a little bit taller.
Yes, here we are still with the giraffe. All of them walked in front of us, and they're headed up the hills. These giraffes are so smart. Up there is where the villagers live, and they know it's safe away from lions, and that's where they're headed. While we were looking at all of them, looking at what they were looking, if you look at the ones to the right there, all of them are looking at something. If you sweep more to the right, you will see that. Look, you see that? They're all looking to the left. We were looking at what they were looking, and then we saw, you know what? We saw some lions, and there they are. So actually, it proves to me that they have very good eyesight. We couldn't see them, and if it wasn't for them, we would have not seen them. Look at this guy. He's going to investigate. From where we are, we think it's very close, and the lions are going to jump on him. But in relation to where they are, I think it's quite a distance. And he's not scared. He knows that, he can run away from them. Look at this. Look at this, kids. Look, he's getting closer. He's a very brave one, this one. Wow. See the lions? They're like, you want us to eat you? You are not on the menu today, so they're not bothered. They know he's too big, and they're also quite young. They're not experienced enough to bring down a fully grown giraffe. And the giraffe knows that. That's why he's getting close to them. I wonder what is going through his mind. What do you think he's thinking? Is he asking himself, are these the guys that eat us? All of them are going there now. This is quite interesting. Wow. Look. Wow, look at that. One is decided. You want to get eaten? But the giraffe is not scared. This is interesting. I think this giraffe will just get away. This is for sure. The giraffe knows that if they try to get him, he will run away and he can outrun them. That's why he's not worried at all. And there is that what we call the flight distance. You know, that distance where they know they can get away from the lions. Elizabeth, you ask why are the giraffes so brave? I think in this case, they know everything is in their favor. They are downwind, so they can smell the lions. They have a nice area to run, just in case the lions come. And they know the safety distance that they haven't broken. If the lions start coming, they know that they can outrun the lions. And I'm sure also, with age, they can tell that these lions are not fully grown, so they are not afraid of them. Look at all of them looking. Okay, let's as I continue seeing what's going to happen here, I'll take you to Tristan, who's got one of our biggest animals. Guess which one? Go there and find out.
Well, I'm sure that something interesting will eventually happen on that side, but something interesting is happening on our side. You can see the Ellies are having a little mud bath. So they are getting into a small little pan that I was telling you about earlier. So that's one of those little kind of wallows. We call them mud wallows. And they'll be sucking up water and mud with their trunk. And then you see that they'll spray it all over their body. Now, there's a few places that they will target when they're spraying themselves. It's not just kind of throwing mud for the sake of throwing it. They will throw mud generally underneath their tummy. And then you see behind their ears there, you see how the ears are very, very wet. And so earlier I was telling you that's how they cool down, is by using their ears to flap. Now if it's wet, and this maybe some of you have felt this before, if you've dived into a swimming pool, or you've gotten in the bath or in the shower and you get out and there's a bit of a wind, do you feel how the water feels colder? And you can often feel cool when the wind blows. So that's exactly why they throw water on their ears, is to try and cool down as much as possible. The underside of their body as well has got very thin skin, and so that allows them to be able to cool down quickly. But I'm just going to keep baying in the mud. Oh, they've gone quiet now. But Chloe, yes, they do have the ability to smell things from far away. They have a very good sense of smell. That long trunk is able to pick up all kinds of different scent, and they'll often smell other elephants and predators long before they see them. And it's why when you approach elephants, if you're walking, if you're on foot, then you have to be very careful, and you have to get yourself downwind so that the wind is blowing from them to you, because otherwise they will smell you from sometimes, depending on how much wind is blowing, from sometimes, a good few hundred yards away, and it can be very, very tricky. Good. Well, we're going to stay with our Ellies for the remainder of our afternoon. Unfortunately, though, it is that time where we need to say goodbye to all of you. It's time for you guys to go and do some other work at school, which I know is very sad, because I'm sure you would love to stay on safari with us a little bit more, and we would love to have had you for longer. But hopefully you will enjoy your day further. From all of us, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we hope that you don't get too much homework, and see you all soon. Right, well, good afternoon, and welcome to our drive. Hello, little one. What are you up to? Great start to our normal safari. Are you going to throw your head at me and cause nonsense? Seems like it. My name is Tristan on camera, and it is a warm welcome to this afternoon's regular sunset safari. Now, we've got a bit of breakup. Unfortunately, part and parcel of where we are in the Mulwati. It's been such a nice sighting that I wanted to kind of spend as much time as possible. Now, there's an ellie there that is having the best time on its back legs. And remember, we are coming to you kind of live, which means that we want to hear from all of you. Hashtag SafariLive on Twitter or at FC on the YouTube chat, to be able to interact with us and ask us any questions or give us any comments that you may have. Remember to try and keep it as relevant as possible to what you're seeing on the screen. Now, isn't that cool that there's this ellie that is mud wallowing, and it looks so happy, doesn't it? That's the face of a very happy ellie. It's one of the best things about this time of the year, is that it gets hot enough that the ellies love to bath and have the best time rolling around in the mud. Are you having a good time, girl? Look at that. Isn't that cool? Deja vu, you say that is a happy elephant? Well, it doesn't get any happier than that. This is the way that ellies like to spend a hot afternoon, is by coating their entire body with as much mud and water as possible, so as that they can get a little bit of relief from this hot summer sun. It's been a warm afternoon. As soon as the sun breaks the clouds, it gets incredibly warm, and so they really do enjoy kind of getting muddy and cooling their body down. It's also, I think, it's just fun more than anything else. They enjoy playing around and having a really good time kind of doing it. Was that fun? Yes, there we go. She's now going to stroll off. Probably you'll find she might go and find a bit of sand now. Often after they've rolled like that, they do get sand onto their bodies in order to just try and kind of cover themselves, and to then be able to exfoliate their skin and any parasites by that mud or that sand sticking to the mud. Good. Our ellies are moving on. We're going to try to see if we can get another view. Otherwise, we're going to carry on and see what else we can find. In the meantime, though, back up to Isaac in the Mara so he can say good afternoon to all of you.
Well, welcome to the Masai Mara. We're still here with the giraffes. They have decided to move on, and the buffaloes are not very far. I am Isaac Ratich, and in the camera is Bungei, and we are watching an interesting phenomenon unfold where the giraffe were walking towards the lions, and then they realized that they were not going to take them on and decided to move on. The lions were also not experienced enough, so they decided not to go or even try, and they're still lying there. It is very chilly here in the Masai Mara. Temperatures earlier were about 20, now they have dropped to almost, I would say, 16. So, and it's very, very windy. We had a cloudy afternoon where we had a few showers, but now it has cleared, but very, very windy. I'm going to try and get you closer to this Olololo pride. They haven't eaten since we last saw them, most of them, but from a distance we could see two males fighting for something. We'll take you there later on, but let's get you close to this. Looks like 2 males and 2 females, and they're only about 100 meters from me. There is another 2 males down in the bushes, and then there is another 4 across the other side. For sure, they haven't eaten. I don't know what they're thinking. There is too much around them. I don't know, when they're gonna go for something. But in this, dire, situations, they need to go for something tonight or tomorrow. Let me get you closer to these guys. Let's see what is happening with their bellies, and then move closer to the other ones. I hope it doesn't rain before we close, because it's getting rather cloudy. we have these localized rains that come every now and then, and usually this time of day is when it rains. I hope it doesn't disrupt my beautiful game drive. I'm having a very lovely time. I hope you're doing the same. I never knew the Olololo Pride come all the way here. My years here, Jonathan, let me get you close to these lions, and then Kestu will have to repeat the question because it's rather quite windy and I didn't hear it. I'm gonna try and get close, then stop, and hopefully I can answer your question. There is a lot of food for the Olololo Pride, but for some reason they haven't gone for any of it. There is buffalo, there is giraffe. Yes, these are actually, looks like 4 of them. Jonathan, I hope I can... Now I hear your question. Are the lions in the Mara have been known to take giraffes in the Mara? It's actually not common in the Mara. The only times I've seen it's 2 times, and it was one of the big prides called the Sand River Pride. They had taken a fully grown giraffe. It took them about 3 hours. So not known to take giraffes, I would say. It's the only one I've seen. They are not known to taking down giraffe. These are all youngsters, the ages of about 2.5 to 3. That looks like an older female there. The one to the left, she looks old. I would give her, maybe 5 years. Very much like a larger cat, cleaning herself. Maybe she smells of meat, and she's trying to get rid of that smell so the flies don't come. That tongue is so rough, if it was to lick a human skin, it might actually open it up. Beautiful. The Olololo Pride is rather one of the most interesting prides I've ever come across. The main reason is they don't go for large game. I haven't seen them go for large game. They're always going for, zebra, wildebeest, topi. Occasionally, they go for buffalo. But where they are at the moment, it is full of buffalo. As I continue observing these beautiful animals, I'll link you back to with a rather interesting character, the marabou stock.
Indeed, we are looking at something that unfortunately is not very beautiful at all. It's the form of a marabou stork. Now, we don't see these guys all that often, but there are a few hanging around at the moment. I think this one is a statue because I drove past this very same bird yesterday in the very same spot, and it was there apparently this morning and again now this afternoon. So for some reason it's happy up there, and like I say, not very pretty at all. They've got that kind of big wooden beak, that bare sort of head that's got bits of feathers coming out and is pink and a little bit more like Freddy Krueger's face than anything else, and then those kind of long legs. It's an awkward, well, I don't even know if a mother could love that face. That is not a very pretty bird at all, but very cool birds in that they are amazingly efficient at what they do. You find them scavenging off carcasses quite a bit, so they act in a very similar role to what vultures would do. They also obviously can find their own food, and fish and frogs and those kind of things also form a huge part of their diet. And I'm pretty sure the reason we're seeing these ones at the moment is due to these dead fish that are at Chitwa, which I'll get into just now because we're heading towards Chitwa Dam. I want to go see if Tingana's maybe come back into that area. So we're going to head there just now, and we're not very far, but I'm sure that's why these birds are hanging around, is that there's a food source that they can use and they can scavenge off and go after it. So was Zephyr basically, why did we go from lions to Mr. Poopy Legs bird? Well, because Mr. Poopy Legs also needs its time to shine. You know, lions pee on themselves, and so I suppose it's not a far bridge for these guys to join the lions. But you see their legs are white, and so if you're not sure what we're talking about, these guys practice what's called urohydrosis. Here we go, I'll get it out eventually. So urohydrosis essentially is the pooping on one's legs if you have a cloaca, and that then runs down the legs and it causes cooling in the legs essentially. So much like the elephant ear getting water on it, it's the same thing with these guys. It helps just to cool the blood down, especially in a big bird like this, and just keeps their blood a little bit cooler. And that's why it gets that white. That's the urine from the actual kind of defecation that a bird has. Remember, a bird, when it does a dropping, there's the kind of black part of it, which is generally the waste from the food they've eaten, and the white part is the urea or urine that has come out and mixes together and forms that one solid kind of poo. Now, this particular bird has a serious poo that comes out, and so you can see it covers those legs quite heavily, which I suppose is good for this bird in its general sort of temperature that it has, and it allows it to sit in big open trees like this, and they have to, because unfortunately for them, when they want to fly or take off, if they're in a tree with a lot of foliage, their wings are going to get cluttered and kind of get caught up, and so open kind of sections like this are much better. And I think it's quite a kind of cool view of this marabou stork against this blue sky with these wispy white clouds. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Maybe not the bird, but the scene, let's call it that. And there's something about them. They remind me of Nairobi, funnily enough, which is a sad thing to think about today, because apparently Nairobi's had a bit of an issue with security, and I think there was some sort of attack on Nairobi today, which so hopefully all of those people there are okay, and that there isn't too much harm that's been caused. It's always a sad day when things are attacked and people get injured and hurt and various other nonsense. But they are all over the city there. You find them sitting on, especially there's a certain little roundabout in the middle of Nairobi, and you find them all sitting on a tree that's in that roundabout, and you can see 60, 70 of them kind of hanging around in that area. Good, let's carry on towards Chitwa, okay? And so I said I was going to talk about the fish and the dead fish that was seen by Sydney this morning. Now I heard him kind of talking about it, and he was talking about sort of oxygen depletion within the water. While it could be possible, I have another theory that I would like to kind of delve into, and so I'm going to head there and we'll find the fish first before I delve into it. In the meantime, though, I think let's send you back to the glorious, ever so beautiful, non-poopy-legged lions in the Mara.
Well, Tristan, thank you for your concerns about Nairobi. We have confirmed that all our families are safe, and also we are also very safe here. Just like the lioness tells you, all is Hakuna Matata, no problem. This is one of the, the adult females of the Olololo pride. She's much farther from where we saw the rest. And to continue with what I was trying to say earlier, it's a rather interesting pride because you can tell at a distance there across, it's a herd of bachelor male buffaloes. Normally, for a pride like this, it's quite easy to bring them down. They are just to tire them and make them really scared, make them run away, then they outmaneuver one, tire it down and bring. You see all those guys, how they're relaxed. I don't know if they're going to go for one in the night, but for sure, from where we are to those buffalo is only about 600 feet. The buffaloes are not concerned, and the lions are also not concerned at all. It's a rather interesting phenomenon for me, because hungry lions like this, through my experience before, they usually get so desperate that anything on the table has to be eaten. And this is where, actually, I must say I'm continuing to learn. The buffaloes are so relaxed, nothing to worry about. I don't know when they're going to have their next big meal, but they actually do need a meal and fix a big meal soon. Over here, there's nothing else to go for apart from buffalo, giraffe, and maybe when they go down to the river, they might come across elephant. She doesn't seem bothered. I don't know if she had a little bit of a nibble, and that's why she's so relaxed. I'm not quite sure. She's doing what lions do. 16, 20 hours of a day, resting. The weather is perfect for her, so she's preserving all the energy she can so that she can utilize it maybe in the night. I'm gonna roll down to the rest, down there. I don't know if you can see them. And then after that, because they're not doing much, I'll try and head down towards our female with the 3 cubs. We haven't seen her for about 2 days now, and I am hoping she's going to be there for us. Reverend, you're asking how much can a lion consume in one sitting? A fully grown lion can eat up to pounds of meat. That is 40 kilograms. Imagine, quite a lot. I think that's meat for me for about a month, together with my family. Ha! Interesting over here. Look at this guy. He looks better than the rest. Sorry, we don't mean any harm. We don't mean any threats. We just relaxed. We just want to see you. Look at those eyes. Yeah. Beautiful. She's looking at the older female who we just left behind us. It could be the mother, but she's still a little bit dependent on the mother. Maybe she's joining in the herds, she's joining in the hunts, and she's sharpening her last skills. You looked at her belly, it looked like she ate something by herself. Her belly looked different, and actually if I look at the neck, it looks like there's a bit of blood. Look at the belly. Yeah. Wow. Huh. This one has eaten something. Why did you not share with the rest of the pride? Wow, beautiful. Yeah, those eyes, when they stare at you, I tell you, I feel like they're staring straight through me. I don't know what she sees in me. That's why she's keeping looking at me. And Bungay, she's relaxing now. These are the sub-adults of the Olololo pride. There are quite a few of them. This looks like a female to me. This is a pride that I'm still continuing to learn. And so you'll excuse me if I make a mistake, but this one looks like a female. She doesn't have a mane, and I don't know how many females of her age we have in the Olololo pride. Okay, I'll leave you to relax because you've allowed me to observe you, and then I'll move on to the other 4 that are just in front of me, about 100 meters. I don't know if you can see them in the camera, but they're just there. I'll head to these guys, but before I get there, I'll take you down to Juma with a surprise.
Well, look who we found. Wasn't that a good idea to come towards Chitwa Dam? You can see our boy Tingana is having fish for dinner. He's busy eating all of the dead fish that we were about to discuss. So worthwhile kind of reason to come here. The smell is really what's probably attracted him to the water's edge. It really does smell strongly of rotting fish, and so he's probably picked that up from a long way away, and it's why he's kind of moving here. But he's going to have to be very careful, because I'll tell you why. There you go. He's just pulled out a fish. Look at that. Now, how often do you get to see a leopard walking around strutting with a tilapia or bream in its mouth? Not very often at all. And so there he's going to stride away from the water's edge, where it's going to be dangerous for him because of crocodiles, and he's now going to stride off with his fish and go and eat it, and he'll just do this all afternoon until he's full. Now a lot of you might be thinking to yourself, well, if he's going to eat these dead fish, is he not going to get sick? So the theory that I was having about these fish is because it's a certain type of fish, some fish are more susceptible than others to ammonia. And so a lot of you will be asking, but ammonia, why ammonia? So what happens in any water source is when there's animals that are defecating in there and there's food sources in there, it causes ammonia to build up. Now, if anybody who's kept fish, you'll know that ammonia is deadly to fish, and it happens quite quickly, and it's why you need to do constant water changes. I'm just going to reposition slightly. You need to do constant water changes, as well as to constantly make sure that you are cleaning out any sort of dirtiness within the tank itself. And so when something like Chitwa Dam happens, it's normally because the amount of water in relation to the number of fish and the number of kind of or toxins is so diluted that the fish generally survive. But what can happen sometimes is when the water drops to the level that you've got now, plus you add in another 40 hippos that are in the area, because Chitwa Dam apparently has got close to 60 hippos in it at the moment. When you add that into the mix, as well as the fish in relation to the size of the body of water that they're in is now much less, they have a problem. They can't, the ammonia level spikes very quickly, and that's when you get often fish die-offs like this. And it's why you're not seeing any catfish. They are a little bit more tolerant of ammonia than what the bream are. So, you know, it's obviously that's, for me, would be the reasoning. I might be wrong completely, but look at this. This is crazy. He's busy eating this fish right next to us. Tingy, is that nice, boy? Is a fish something different to eat? And he's wolfed that down. It didn't last very long at all. I have seen leopards go after fish quite regularly, catfish in particular. When places dry and catfish start to develop or start to get stranded in mud, leopards will eat them regularly. And so he'll kind of be able to feed off this. Now, in terms of that toxicity coming through him, his general body size and the trace elements of ammonia within that fish is probably so small that his blood won't be affected by it, and he will probably, in all likelihood, be absolutely fine. It's why birds can eat these fish and survive and still be around the water. It's why hippos are fine inside there, is that their volume of blood is just so much more than these small little bream species that it allows them to eat these kind of animals and not have to stress at all about getting ill and kind of utilizing this free food source. But it's a strange thing to see a leopard carrying a fish around. It's not something that you see every day. Now, I think it was Lexi say Tingy's a fan of sushi. Yes, he's a sushi cat. He's getting refined in his old age, likes to eat his sushi, and he likes to kind of feed on it and be able to kind of process the fish. Now, I wouldn't be surprised he goes back again. In fact, let's see. It looks like he might head back towards that area, or he's just going to lie down maybe and groom himself out. I don't know how many fish he's actually eaten. I mean, he was definitely eating one when we first arrived, and then he grabbed this one. So he might have had himself 3 or 4 fish, and now he's feeling a lot better about life at this stage, and he's going to groom off any of those scales and bits of mud that he's gotten. But seems like a happy cat now that he's eaten that fish. He certainly gobbled it down quite quickly, and for any animal like a leopard, you know, a food source like that is always going to be utilized. You'd find lions would also do it. Hyenas are going to be here tonight. They will feed off these fish. The crocs this morning were doing it. So it's a food source that is for free. It requires 0 energy for this animal to really go and get it in relation to going after impalas and things like that. And yet there's a high protein source that they can process it and be able to eat it and kind of deal with it as quick as possible. So it's a very clever kind of food source for him to go after. Obviously, I would imagine if he ate too much of it and really kind of got the concentrations of ammonia too high in his bloodstream, it could make him ill. But I don't think the size of these fish and the amount that he's got, I don't think he's really going to be too affected by that. But very cool to see. Now, the other interesting bit of news is, while we're sitting watching him groom, is that I've just been told by the guys that they saw an unknown female leopard this morning. I asked if anyone got pictures, and so I'm hoping somebody will send me pictures, but no one knows who it is, which is quite interesting. Now, while we watch Tingana kind of groom himself, let's send you back up to Isaac, who's got, I think, lions eating something of their own.
look what he was around. The reason why that one female lioness had a fuller belly than the others, this is the reason. Looks like they made a warthog kill, which is not enough for everybody. And this young male, together who's not in the picture, have dominated. See that? This makes me want to explain to you why young males get kicked out of a pride. He didn't make this kill. It's one of the females. They all shared it. Everybody had a little bit of it. But because they're almost as big as their mothers, they manage to overpower them and take over the kill. And with these reasons, if they continue, it means they're going to be banished. The females are going to gang up together with the main male and chase them away. This is the time they start putting enmity into the rest of the pride, and they will be kicked out in the next, not even 1 year, if they continue with this naughty behavior of dominating all the kills. Poor warthog. I think today was his day. In lean times, the Olololo pride survives on warthogs. And this is one that didn't make it, through the day today. They love warthogs. When they kill them, they normally lick them, lick, bite, lick. It's like for them, I say, eating ice cream. They love them. They love warthogs. I don't know how it tastes. He's really trying to separate the bottom and the upper jaw. I don't know if you can hear any crunching. Let me, go quiet a little bit and see if we can hear the noises. No, it's too windy, we can't hear very much. Look at his belly. It tells me, yeah, I think he took over this kill quite some time, because you can tell his belly, he's very full. And right now, he's not welcoming his brother. This is what lions are known for. They're not very friendly when there's minimal to eat. That's why the brother is begging. He's not very far off. If he makes a mistake and splits that jaw into two, the brother might be intimidated to get in there and get his share. And there's going to be a lot of growling. Lots of that. At this age, he's trying to put on weight as much as possible. I think they also do know that sometimes later they'll get kicked off, and they need to be as heavy and as big as possible when they go all by themselves. I wonder what the future brings for these beautiful young guys. He looks like, he has had a warthog before and he knows what he's doing. He's trying to split that jaw, eat the skin off so that it splits, and he can get into continue skinning it, removing the skin off the skull. Remember, we're on SafariLive. You can talk to us through YouTube live stream. Or, on Twitter at #SafariLive. While I continue enjoying this guy, enjoying his dinner, I'll link you back to Tristan with something nice for you.
Right, now I think we are live at the moment. Our comms are completely breaking up, and I can only hear beeps in my ear, and I would imagine I heard that Kirst said she was going to link to us, but I don't hear if we are live at all, so we're struggling a little bit with our comms, but that's okay. We'll just talk, and if you are with us, then that's fine. But you can see Tingy's still relaxed, still looking. I wouldn't be surprised he gets up and grabs another one. If there's a few fish that are around, he might just decide for himself that fish is going to be the order of the day, and he's going to just try and kind of get as many as possible. And you'll find that he'll kind of try and go after them and kind of just pick them up all along the sort of edge of the actual sort of dam. The Egyptian geese chicks are going to be the next targets, though. They're right in front of where he's walking at the moment. He's kind of just strolling along the edge of the dam and is heading towards those geese. But the geese will just take to the water. I mean, they'll see him coming. It's not exactly like he's hidden. Now, Ginger, I think the question was what bone in the fish would hurt Tingana. I think that's what you said, or wouldn't bones in the fish hurt Tingana? So as I was kind of discussing now with Lauren, who's behind me at the moment and is going to take over from me just now, you know, the thing about fish bones is that, yes, in small cats it can be a problem, but you must understand that Tingana eats things like impalas, where he crunches legs and breaks huge shards of bone and swallows them, and those big shards are much bigger than these tiny little soft fish bones that he's got here, and so for him he can just chomp down on those fish bones and break them and just swallow them and be absolutely fine. So he's all right at this stage. He also left quite a big portion of the tail. I saw the tail was there, so he just kind of broke off some part of it, and you know, just ate the sort of head and sort of midsection and left the actual tail area as much as possible. But there he goes. You see he's going towards the edge of the water once again. Let's just try and catch up with him. Maybe we'll get lucky and see him kind of pick up another fish and watch him devour another one. It looks like he wants to try and get another fish there, but he's got to be careful when he goes towards the edges of the water, because the Egyptian geese making all that noise is often going to attract the attention of things like crocodiles. And a crocodile will have a go at it. Make no mistake, they go after things like lions regularly, and so I wouldn't be surprised they go after something like a leopard. There we go. You see he's got himself another one now. It's absolutely ridiculous that he's got himself another fish. It really is quite stinky, though, I will say that, and lots of, unfortunately, beautifully sized bream that have died, which is not ideal. It is the easiest fishing ever. I'm glad to hear you back, Kirsty. I at least can hear you quite clearly now, which is quite nice. Just now it was quite tricky to hear Kirst and couldn't really kind of pick up what she was saying all that much. But yes, easiest fishing indeed. I mean, he's literally just walking up and get a free meal. Crazy, eh? Amazing how quickly and how resourceful leopards are. Of all the creatures out there, they really are the ones that will take advantage of a change in conditions probably quicker than most. So a lot of you are worried about his safety and crocodiles. He does need to be a bit careful with crocs. Like I say, he needs to be kind of vigilant as to what's going on. I'm trying to see if I can actually see the crocs, if they're on the banks anyway. I would imagine the crocs are so full from eating all those fish themselves that they maybe have kind of just crawled up onto a bank somewhere and are just sun tanning at the moment. But I don't see them, if I'm honest, which is, I suppose, a dangerous thing for Tingana at this stage. But the nice thing where he is now is that it's very shallow in front of him, and he's far enough back that if a crocodile had to burst out from there, I think his reactions would be quick enough for him to jump back and kind of move out of the way. If he was a bit kind of closer to the water edge and kind of wading in a little bit, that's when he's going to be in danger. But that sort of distance back, it's shallow enough. You can actually even see the fish carcasses, how their sides are sticking out, and that gives you an idea of just how shallow it actually is at the moment. And so that will allow him to see something like a croc, particularly the crocs in this dam that are so big. Now, all those little round things that you're seeing are fish. That's all dead fish that you're seeing, which is insane. It's a lot of fish that have died, and they're all tilapia. So they would be probably mostly Mozambique tilapia that are in here. There might be a few red-breasted tilapia, but I don't see any red breasts on them. Obviously, when they die, they lose color quite quickly, and it's tricky to really see that coloration when that's kind of a mess like that. But they mostly look like Mozambican tilapia. It's the most common one we kind of get in this particular area of South Africa. Tingy certainly seems to like them. Kev, indeed, his coat is going to shimmer and shine with all this omega-3 that he's now got. So he's going to definitely be a shiny fella after all of this. I mean, omega-3 is obviously very good for cats and for even for people. Omega-6 as well, which you get in salmon. So he's going to probably be hopefully in good condition after this, and will be a shiny cat. Hopefully he's not too shiny that he looks like he's been using some sort of brill cream or something and he's got like a slicked back coat. It'll be a little bit weird. It'll be kind of like Tingana stepped out of the Grease movie, to be honest. Hopefully he's not that bad. Hopefully it's kind of just looks healthy and gets a bit of condition. He looks as though he's quite hungry, and so, you know, I'm glad that he's at least getting a meal that he hasn't had to work too hard for, and maybe that's why he's been hanging around the sort of Torchwood and Chitwa, so maybe that's why is that these fish that are congregating that he's feeding off. Now, Karen, if I see a crocodile, will I yell out at Tingana and help him? I can assure you, Karen, even if I yelled at Tingana, he would probably just turn and look at me, and I would do more damage to his chance of survival than if I just kept quiet and allowed him to listen and to sense things on his own accord. And I can also assure you that if I saw the crocodile, it would be too late. Unless that crocodile just pops up and I can just see its eyes before it launches, the chances of it is that I'm probably not going to see a crocodile as quick as he's not going, well, I mean, as long as he doesn't see it. So, you know, their eyesight is incredibly good, and I would imagine that they would be able to kind of pick it up quite quickly. So, you know, I even then I wouldn't, and I'll tell you why, because it's a natural thing. So, you know, crocodiles are part and parcel. Tingana's an experienced male leopard. He's been around water many times, and he'll in his own mind know, and if he makes that mistake and gets too close, it's not the crocodile's fault. The crocodile is taking any opportunity it can get to get a meal, and if that means a leopard gets too close, in fact there was a sighting of a crocodile eating a leopard in the Kruger National Park at the end of last year, and so that's unfortunately nature. As much as he's eating fish or warthogs or impalas, and we kind of watch those kind of things and we don't shout at the impala and make the impala run away, the crocodile itself has also got to eat. And I know I mean, it might sound strange for me because I absolutely love leopards, and that's the difference between, you know, kind of, you have to have that separation, unfortunately. Is the idea is that we're here to observe and to try and watch nature in its entirety, and then if that means a leopard is killed by lions or crocodiles or things like that, that's how things work. It's not fair to be chasing animals off other animals. Ultimately, what the knock-on effect of that is unknown. If that animal, for some reason, is not able to kind of hear well, or some sort of genetic marker that is weaker, you know, that's nature's way of kind of making this gene pool as strong as possible. And so, you know, tinkering and applying a set of rules to one animal only is very dangerous. I think if we don't do it for anything, we shouldn't do it for any of them. We shouldn't do it for a specific one. So, no, I wouldn't shout. I wouldn't try and chase the croc away at all. I think, you know, me keeping quiet and allowing Tingana the ability to listen, and his whiskers to sense, and his nose to smell, and his reflexes to come into play without me giving him a fright and him turning and looking at me rather than focusing on whatever that perceived threat might be in front of him. Right. Tingana is still eating his fish, going about his business now. One animal that would also probably be eating, not fish, but would be loving to have a snack, is Ellie's, and Pat seems to have found some.
Wow, we have found ourselves a nice little Ellie sighting. So we have one here in front of us, and just next to it, just on the left of it, in front of its head there is another little baby there. But we just can't see it. They were just having a little bit of affection before, which was very cute to see. Might be going back for a little bit more now. Or is it? It's a bit hard to see, but oh no, too far back to be going for the suckle there. Beautiful, beautiful. We were very lucky actually. Just before we went live, this elephant was standing on the complete other side of the tree, standing with its bottom facing towards us. So I'm glad it decided to migrate around and give us a nice look at it there.
They're all feeding very heavily right now. There are a couple more that just aren't in sight of the camera, but they're going hard at those trees, really pulling off every branch. And I think that's all we're going to get to see of them. But a nice little stop off on my way back up north. So what has happened since the kids' drive? Welcome everyone, sorry. My name is Patrick. Joining me on camera is Senzo. And please send us your questions and comments using the hashtag SafariLive and YouTube chat stream. So what happened was we found a set of tracks that were leopard and they looked like a female. Now after this, what we found was another set of tracks going the same direction right next to the other ones, and they were much smaller. So a female and a young. Who could that be? I think maybe Tandi and Tralamba. So I am following these tracks up north. I think I'm going to go check around a couple of the pans and just keep my eyes out in these drainage lines to the right as well. Actually, this one right here is the first time I ever actually saw Tralamba. I found her when we were out on a training drive. So, you know, hopefully lightning strikes twice in the same place. Rochelle says, woohoo, I want to see them. Well, I want to see them very much as well. I have been doing a lot of leopard tracking lately, especially whilst live with you guys. And it's fun. I'm enjoying it. I've probably been doing it, you've probably the last 3 or 4 drives. I've been doing nothing but leopard tracking and I'm really having fun with it. It's super interesting. It's like piecing together a puzzle. And it's obviously something that the only way to get good at it is to keep practicing and practicing and practicing. Now, I'm far from any expert, but I do feel like it's starting to come along. You really start to develop an eye for it. But I did get told today by Tristan and Jamie that that eye can go out very quickly, and I'm going on leave tomorrow for 3 weeks, so maybe I'll do some tracking back home around the streets, track some kangaroos, just to keep that eye in. Maybe I could try some underwater. That's not gonna work. Well, I continue to look for my small spotted cats. I'm going to send you up to the north in the Mara. It's got some big, solid.
My friend here, the young male, is still trying to dismember or dismantle the warthog head. It is a technique. And he knows that. He has to eat off all the skin that attaches the upper and the lower jaw together. And this is what he's been struggling to do for the last almost 20 minutes. He knows once he's done that, he'll get to where he can easily remove the skin all the way around. Look at that. It wasn't one of the smallest warthogs. It is a big warthog, this one. And I think him and his brother, 2 cheeky little males, decided to take over. This is a behavior that they show off, at a certain age of 2 to 3 years. Yes, we're talking about you. Beautiful, look at him. He's going to be a nice big male. Yes, I'm talking about you. Well, the temperatures are perfect for them, good for eating a big meal. Kerry, you ask, why lions? I don't know what, I didn't get the last bit of the question. Kerry, please, could you repeat your question? I'd really love to answer you, but I did hear your name. I think, Kerry, Good question. Why do the lion muscles weaken and they lie for very long? Actually, you might think that is the case, but through my experience, lions do exercise a lot. They might lie for 18 to 20 hours of a day, but can you imagine walking for about 3 kilometers every night to look for something, and then stalking something for up to half an hour, putting all your attention to that animal, not using your normal, like gait, standing up and running. You're crouching, you're low, so you're actually stressing some of the muscles, and then running, even if it's 100 meters, then hanging on to that animal for maybe 10 to 15 minutes with all the strength you have, tightly as much as possible, and then after that is when you start relaxing. I would say that is enough exercise for a day. And also just imagine, even if you lie down for 3 days, then you have to bring down a fully grown zebra. A fully grown zebra actually would weigh 2 times the size of a female. So you can imagine if there are 2 females or 2 young males like this, it will take a lot of strength. And I think that's why they don't weaken. They remain the same and actually stronger as they age. The brother is... That was rather interesting. That was what I was telling you earlier. He will not allow his brother to get close to his food. Yeah, he will try and dominate all of it. And that's why he's telling him, it's still mine. Don't dare get close. His brother was trying to investigate if he had left even a little bit of it. And the other brother decided that, I don't want you even getting close to where I was. This is the typical behavior with lions when something is small. They don't like sharing. But after this, they come back together, they start rubbing heads, licking one another. It's like, it was only just because of the food, but I really need you. Please accept me back. And that's what is usually the case. They go back because they need each other. But when eating, if something is small, they are not as friendly. This guy is making me hungry, so I'm thinking of leaving this spot. Well, this guy makes me hungry. I'm going to leave him and link you back to Tristan, who's got a fishing leopard. What an important, what an interesting sight, interesting experience. I've never seen that. I've only seen it in videos. Please enjoy it.
Right, now unfortunately I don't have any comms, so if you hear me talking to Craig quite a bit, that's why. Craig is going to help me with being able to hear what's going on and for when Kirsty speaks to me. But you can see Tingana's up and moving now. He's finished his fish and he's just picking off fish from various spots. I think he's quite happy to try and find himself a certain type of fish. I suppose he can be a bit of a sort of choosy individual right now when there's this many fish around. There's obviously an ability to kind of go after really whatever he wants, which is quite interesting. It's just a completely different thing to see. I mean, you wouldn't expect to watch a leopard go about picking up different fish from the edge of a water hole and to try and kind of find food sources like that. You can see the flies are irritating him as well, so he's getting a bit annoyed by the fact that there's a whole bunch of flies, and all of those little kind of things that you're seeing there, those are all fish that he is busy smelling and busy scenting. Luckily though, the crocodile, which actually, this is interesting, look, the crocodile is coming. So it's watched Tingana moving along the edge. There it comes now. So it is actually coming closer towards where Tingana is. I wonder if it's thinking to itself, well, if this cat moves close to the edge of the water, I'm going to go after it. Now Tingana has basically turned his back and is just kind of striding off with a fish of his own now. Well done, boy. Rather be away. But the crocodile has watched Tingana, and crocodiles are clever. They'll quickly work out whether or not there is a food source. Craig, let's go back a little bit and try and kind of go. Now, sorry, Kirst, I can't, if I'm not copying you, I do apologize. I have turned up my CamOps radio too, because the CamOps have a different radio kind of connection than what I do, so I've turned theirs on to try and cover both bases, but so far nothing that I can actually get right. But here we go. Ting, sit on that little bank for me and eat your fish right there. But I'm glad that he's moved away from that croc. That croc was definitely watching him, because the croc was actually on the edge of the water and has kind of come round now and sort of gone exactly where Tingana was sort of sitting. Let's try and just maybe try and get a view of him walking with his fish straight towards us, which is an odd kind of view in many, many respects. Apparently not. That apparently was not the fish that he wanted. He's just dropped it on the ground as though it's nothing. Oh, there's another fish here. Have you come to see what this fish is? Tingy, you just don't know which fish you want. And you're spoiled for choice. Don't imagine he has a very nice breath at the moment, if I'm honest. But like I say, I'm glad that he's moved away from where that crocodile was cruising, because I think that crocodile saw him milling about on the edge and thought, well, if he sits here for a lot longer and is messing around, maybe it's got a chance. But I think he's also an experienced cat. I mean, he's been around many times and spent many hours around Chitwa Dam, and he will be very aware that there are crocodiles here and he needs to be very cautious. And so I think he'll be absolutely fine in terms of being able to kind of avoid the attentions of a crocodile. Are you going to give us your back now? Oh, sorry, Craig, let's just turn around. I was just trying to get that shot of him kind of walking towards us, and then he promptly dropped the fish, which I suppose if you've got so many around, one can do that. Let's just try and just reverse back a little bit. I'm going to try and get to the point where we can actually kind of get a nice view of the fish and him. If he does approach it, it'll be just a really nice shot to kind of come down towards the fish itself. So somewhere there, Craig, is that good? And I'll just see if Jigger will actually hold. We'll try and engage a bit of handbrake and gearing just to try and kind of keep the car in this place. But unfortunately, he's kind of still sitting. There we go, Kirst, I can hear you now. So we can hear you fine now, which is good news. And hopefully everything will be okay. But there we go, Tingy is... Yes, Kirsty, don't worry, I received the very same message that James Henry sent to you, to say that no matter what happens, I have to save Tingana if the crocodile comes. And so I got the same message, don't worry. He was quick to SMS me and tell me that you will not let a crocodile eat Tingana. So don't worry, James, all his crisis is averted for now. Tingana is safely up the bank and nowhere near being eaten by a crocodile yet. Now, you'll see he's going to groom himself. Every time he goes down towards that muddy area and kind of picks up these fish, he's just going to get himself nice and clean. And you can see, I mean, he's eaten since we've been here. He's eaten 3 of these fish, which are not small, and yet his tummy is still not huge at all. So he was really in need of this meal. He required a lot of protein, and so this is going to be a good kind of meal for him, I hope. And I hope there's no issues with him eating this, but it is part and, like I say, parcel of being out here is that you do get these kind of situations where leopards will be opportunistic and will feed off various different carcasses. But look at the flies already. Mr. and Mrs. MacDonald are very, very tricky when it comes to tales of leopards to know exactly what they're thinking. But him flicking it every now and then, I think, is more a sign of insects around him. So if you look at the fish in particular, so in front of him, look at the number of flies covering that fish already. You see that? So those are going to be hovering around him, landing on him, and so that tail is going to be flicking to keep those away more than anything else. If, you know, he was agitated, then you'd find the tail would be whipping from side to side, as opposed to just the tail tip flicking a little bit. That's generally just a sign of him kind of, you know, trying to keep insects away more than anything else. So I don't think it's displaying too much other than performing a movement to deter flies from landing on his coat. It can be highly, highly irritating if you can imagine having flies all over you. I don't think it would be a very pleasant thing at all. But it's good to spend some time with the old Duke, isn't it? And he's been a bit kind of absent of late. And I was talking about it the other day, is that I'm surprised by his lack of vocalizing of late. Maybe we're just not hearing it in the middle of the night because we're sleeping too well. But Jamie hasn't heard him. I haven't heard him. No one in the DRC has really been hearing him calling around camp. And that means that, you know, there's something different. Because when I left before I went to Kenya, every night almost you would hear Tingana sawing his way through Djuma, and so there must be something that is going on. I wonder if he hasn't had a girlfriend somewhere that he's been spending time with up in Buffelshoek. It's very possible. We obviously don't know what's going on, and I was mentioning earlier that there was a female seen this morning that nobody recognizes. Apparently she's got a small little cut on her left side, but nobody knows who it is and where she comes from. But hopefully I'll source some photographs and be able to then kind of have a look, and we can maybe decode the mystery as to who this one is. I'm sure a lot of you are already probably shouting Shongile or Shadow's cub or Shadow or Krula. I don't think so. I mean, the guides that saw her would have recognized, maybe not Shongile or Shadow's cub, but they would have recognized the others. And the fact that the others, you know, that we haven't seen either of those leopards in so long, for them just to arrive back here would be very, 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 very kind of sort of predicted and would be a rarity. I don't think that's the case, but it'll be interesting. I'm intrigued to know who it is. It might have been one of the cats we know. Sometimes sometimes the cats get called the wrong thing and misidentified regularly, as we all know so well. And so it would be very nice if it was a little Shongile or Shadow's cub, not Barbara. Those would have been really kind of quite pleasant to have them back in this area. Tingy, are you going to come eat your fish, or are you going to just sit there? I really hope he's going to eat his fish, because we're in such a nice shot. If he walks towards the fish, we get his eyes kind of looking up at us if he picks it up, and all the flies kind of bursting off it. I think it'll be a very cool shot to get. So I'm hoping that he is going to move towards it. Courtney, has Tingana ever been grumpy with me? Tingy, have we had any bad moments? Not that I really can remember. I mean, I've had him kind of snarl a little bit when he's been mating, kind of just look and just give a bit of a snarl, but that's part of that is just when he's kind of just sort of stopped mating or just dismounted the female, and he's a bit snarly at her and kind of just looked at us and has continued that. Never really had him charge me or been aggressive on foot or aggressive with the vehicle, no. So he's been a very chilled cat in my time. I don't know if anybody else in the SafariLive team has had an issue. I certainly haven't, though. I've been very fortunate in that Tingy's been a real treat to me, and we've spent a lot of time together, particularly over the last kind of 2 years. You know, seen him a lot more than I did when he was younger, but at least, you know, there we go. That's the shot that I was hoping for Craig. So he's going to pick it up and shake it and then walk off and drop it again. Is that not nice, Tingy? Are you over the fish now? Maybe an impala is better. I think he would prefer an impala. I think he likes impala more than he likes fish. It's just he was hungry. Strange though that he picked it up, brought it all the way here, and then just dropped it again. Wonder where he's off to now. Alright, well, let's follow him. Let's see where he goes. See what he gets up to. Little bit of scent marking. Good, now we're going to try and follow him and see where he goes. In the meantime, though, let's send you back across to Isaac in the Mara.
I have left the lions, but I haven't left the area. I'm headed towards the Olololo female with cubs. We did see her yesterday morning, but we only saw one cub. I'm hoping to find her and maybe see the rest of the cubs. We don't know what has been happening in the last few days. It would be interesting to catch up so we don't lose track of exactly what's happening. It has become very cloudy, and it looks like we might get a little bit of a shower. I must be frank with you, I did hear the name, but because of the wind and concentrated to the road, I didn't hear the question. Please repeat the question. Anna, you ask, what's distance, for not getting attacked by animals. I think every guide knows the distance. I know my distances and I know my behaviors, so there's those distances that I can read and say, in case that animal decides to do something, do I have a flight, area, flight distance? So I do know my area of safety. Other guides also do, they know their areas of safety. It has become very cloudy. It's getting dark. It's raining to the north over there. It looks like it's gonna come here. I'm hoping to get to, to get to the cubs, because while it rains, I can continue to give you this live coverage. I'm now on the main road, which means I can get off four-wheel drive and actually move faster, because where I was very bumpy, lots of water holes, a place that very few people have been to, and now I'm on a nice road. I can get there faster. The temperatures have dropped quite rapidly, and I'm hoping that I can stay still for a bit so I can get warm, as it is getting chillier and chillier. Weather here in the Mara is very unpredictable. Remember, we're very close to the equator. We're only 1 degree 15 minutes south of the equator. As the crow flies, we're only around 70 to 100 kilometers from the equator. So weather here changes very fast. When we came down here, it was nice and warm. And now look at this. It's already raining up there. Now, while I get you to these cubs, I'll link you back to Pete, who's driving down the road.
Well, still heading up north, still heading up towards Buffelshoek now, up in the northeastern side, because that is where Tandy does like to hang around. Every time I've seen Tandy, I think, every time except one I've seen Tandy has been in that kind of Buffelshoek area. So I'm going to head up that way and have a scour around. It's become very overcast since the drive started. There's pretty much 100% cloud cover now, which means that things might be getting a little bit more active as well. Which may be a good thing, it may also be a bad thing, because if Tandy and Tlaramba moved north, it would have been earlier this morning. I don't think they would have moved during the day. It was a very sticky, sweaty, hot day. So if they did move, it wouldn't have been much, but I think they would have probably moved off earlier on this morning, which means if they were heading north, they could have made their way quite a way up here now. So if they are moving again, it might not be a great thing. They may go up into Buffelshoek where we can't traverse. Now, as for Hosanna, well, he gave everyone the slip yesterday. Rocky, is the diving here the same in Australia? Honestly, I can't tell you from experience, because I haven't actually dived in South Africa yet. I've been spending all of my time out here in the bush, so I can't actually compare it. But I do know that over the western side is very similar to where I grew up
on the southern side of Australia, and it's cold water, high nutrient loads, and lots of great white sharks, lots of sharks in general, and cold water diving, so more kelp, mussel reefs rather than your coral reefs. So I don't know from experience, but I do know just from what I've heard, what I've read. I was looking to go for a dive when I was in Cape Town, but just didn't have the money. Rocky, how long is my travel home to Australia? Well, I'll start going from here to Hoedspruit, that's an hour and a half. Hoedspruit to Joburg, that's another hour. So where are we at? 2.5 hours. And then Joburg to Perth is about 10 hours, so that's 12.5 hours. And then Perth to Adelaide is about 3 hours. So about 16 hours all up, but that's not including the layover times. It's usually about a full day, sometimes a day and a half of traveling to get here, which seems pretty bad, but considering it took me 2 days to get to Grand Cayman, not so bad at all. I'm looking forward to getting home and going for lots of dives. All my dive gear is back there. Also to get lots and lots of waves. My lord, I'm hanging out for it. Oh my lord, I'm hanging out for it. It's going to be so very good. But first I want to find leopards. Before I can appreciate a nice barrel, I need to be able to appreciate a nice leopard. Yes, everybody, it is a long way home, but it's worth it. It is so worth it. Sometimes I don't mind flying, just kicking back a bit, watching a couple of movies. It's not often we get downtime to do that kind of stuff, so to have an excuse to do it sometimes is a little bit nice. And it's also been great to see how much Australian following SafariLive has. It's yeah, it's great. So g'day all my fellow Aussies. Well, one who is not Australian is Tristan, and someone who has cats is Tristan. So let's go and see Tristan.
Well, as you can see, Tingana is about to just do a really nice walk by. So he's been sitting patiently waiting until you guys came back, and then he's decided to get up and walk right past us as he goes along away from the dam now. So I think he's decided enough fish for the day. And I wouldn't be surprised if his son is not the next one to arrive in this particular spot. We all know how Hosanna can be when it comes to scavenging and finding them. What is going on with you today? You're restless. He keeps getting up and moving. He doesn't find like a spot that he likes. There's the impalas. They're very upset with him. Now, if it would be really nice if he decided to go lie on that rock over there, because I've always wanted to see a leopard on that rock. I've only ever seen one leopard climb the rock, and it was for about 10 seconds, and then it moved off the rock, and that was Wabayiza that was on that rock. Tundi was milling about here, and he went up onto that rock, and then he was on this rock over here. It's just something about a leopard on the rocks that is just quite special. So I'm hoping Tingy will go and lie on the rocks for us. Probably a bit hot though, if I'm honest. It's probably not the best place for a leopard to be lying at this time of the day. Joy, what is the opposite of Cole's law? I'm not quite sure, actually, to be honest with you. I would have to probably... I think Jamie and Kirst would be the best to consult when it comes to Cole's law and to what's actually kind of going on in terms of the opposite of that. Maybe you guys can help us, #SafariLive, as to what you think the opposite of the Cole's law effect would be when everything just lines up, perfectly and it all kind of rolls out as things go live. Wouldn't that's what we need, is the description for that. And Tingy just displayed that perfectly as he got up and walked straight towards us as we kind of went live. Now, earlier I was talking about the number of hippos, and here's actually a really good kind of viewpoint. We often don't spend time in this particular section of Chitwa Dam because it's an area where you don't really try and off-road very much. We're right up against the rooms and we try to stay away from here as much as possible. But this is kind of gives you a flatter perspective of Chitwa Dam. So you've got this corner here where there is a multitude of hippos in this first little bay. Then you go around that bank a little bit and you'll see a whole bunch of heads behind that. So that's a whole bunch more, and then it stretches round, and there's the back section, which are the hippos we normally watch on the sort of back right of those ones. So there where the dead trees are, that one that's yawning in the background. So those are the ones we normally watch, is there. And so, like I say, Charles was telling us that he reckons there's about 60 hippos in this dam, which is way too many hippos. I've never seen this many hippos in Chitwa Dam before. Even during the 2016 drought, there wasn't this many that were here. But I mean, Chitwa Dam is also incredibly low. I mean, this is as low as I've really ever seen it, if I'm honest. It hasn't been this low since 2016, and so it's definitely needs a bit of rain just to top it all up. And I'm pretty sure the hippos are the #1 cause of this ammonia spike within this system. This number of hippos defecating every single day inside there is definitely going to cause a lot more nutrients that the water's got to break down, and like I say, that then causes an ammonia spike. So Ferdy, you say an answer for Cole's law opposite would be cameraman heaven. Yes, I think so. The cam-ups like when animals play the game. It obviously makes their life far easier when animals decide to do things in an easy way rather than a difficult way. And you say it would be potato salad. Okay, if you say so. Potato salad moment. I'm not sure how you got to potato salad, though. I'm intrigued by this potato salad law that you've gotten to. Maybe it's because you really love potato salad and you think that maybe that's why it should be called that, when good things always come from potato salad. Maybe that's what it is. I'm not sure. I don't know. Jamie's always really good with this kind of stuff. Alarma, you say Hosanna's law? Well, yes, he definitely spoils all of us on regular occasions and on cue. He's probably the best at it out of all the animals that we have here. He generally, as you kind of link, he generally does something to entertain. I find him always very good with that kind of thing. The one that is the one that kind of messes with you the most is by far Tundi. She is an absolute nightmare. Well, Tundi and Wild Dogs, the two of them have the ability to just make you look like an absolute fool time and time again. And so they are the hardest, I think, in terms of kind of lining up for a cinematic reveal or opening or link or anything like that. I think they really kind of make life a little bit more tricky. Tingy, please lie on the rocks for us. Please, boy. Probably not, are you? The rocks, I would imagine, have got lots of heat radiating off them, so you probably won't, given that he's panting the way he is. Potato salad because of Cole's law is coleslaw. Maybe, I suppose. I mean, is that the best opposite that we can come up with? I think it's debatable for certain people. Maybe. Let me think. Maybe. I'm on the fence on that one. Kirst, what do you think? Kirst, like I say, Kirst. Yes, I agree. I'm also quite hungry. So now in our summer schedule, it's tricky because we eat, especially this morning, we did our drone test, so we were awake at 2:30 this morning. And then, no, Kirsty also doesn't agree potato salad is it yet. But anyway, we were awake at 2:30. We then did our game drive, finished up at 7. We had breakfast at 7:45, basically, and haven't eaten since then. So, you know, by the time we do eat this evening, it's going to be closer towards quarter to 8, which would be 12 hours, basically, without eating, which means that I'm also hungry. So talk of potato salad and things like that definitely makes one hungry. What did we have for dinner last night, guys? I can't even remember. Oh, wasn't it chicken and pasta? And yes. Yeah, Kirsty's tummy also just grumbled. Kirsty, I believe you've been eating a lot of Uber Eats lately. Apparently the Joburg FC girls have been indulging in many a takeaway over the course of the last week as they get settled into their new places. So basically what's happened is a lot of them have no time to cook at all. It's a difficult life having to cook for oneself. You know, we're so spoiled here that we have Amanda, and in Kenya we have David and Chef Joel that look after us. But, you know, it's tricky. Cooking and balancing work and all of those kind of things, especially the hours that we do, is so irregular. It can be quite tough, but you must look after yourselves, Kirsty. You need to make sure that you guys eat well. But basically what's happened there is that the a lot of the FC ladies that have moved to Joburg. They've got flatlets that are close to work, and it's 3 and 3 in each flatlet, with I think Jerry, Faith, and who's in that one with Faith and Jerry and Emma? They're in the one, and Kirsty, Louise, and Alicia in the other one. Yes, there we go. I got this right. And it's quite funny because we've been having a good conversation about their accommodation over the last little bit. In that Jerry, Faith, and Emma have got the modern, kind of well-furnished, pretty little flat, and Kirsty, Louise, and Alicia, their flat seems to have been styled in the 1960s, and they've told me that they reckon the person that owns the flat that they're renting from, they're next door to each other, so it's in the same building next door to each other, so they're really close to one another, but they reckon that the person that owns that flat is a 40 to 50-year-old male that is single. That's what I gathered. Is that right, Kirsty? Am I right? I think so. And that he's just been living there as a bachelor ever since he was in his student days and in the kind of 70s. There we go. So they profiled this person. That's what our FC does, is they profile people based on their furniture. And so they've kind of got in there. But now Kirsty's telling me that she's also having soup tonight. Kirsty, is it cold in Johannesburg that you're having soup tonight? Because here, I don't think I could eat a soup right now. I think I would die of heat. It's been so warm lately that soup just does not feel like a good idea. Oh, no, it's just easy to make. Okay. Yes, true, exactly. You just have to shove it in the microwave and off you go, Kirsty. I'm sorry that there's no one there to cook for you guys. We'll send a care package soon from Juma. We'll make a plan somehow to get you guys a decent cooked meal that you guys don't have to send our leftovers, Craig. Craig says we'll send you our leftovers, Kirsty. We'll send you some fish. How about that, Kirst? There's some really nice fish that we've got extra of at the moment. It's kind of naturally grown. Exactly, a little bit of sushi. I promise it will be delicious sushi. Even Tingana liked it. So we've got lots of extra fish that we'll send you in a little care package that will go in a little cooler box to you guys at the Johannesburg office. And we'll even prep it for you guys. We'll even make the sushi nicely, and you guys can decide if you like our bush sushi. Probably if we did do that, you would all be violently dead, and we would probably not have to continue the show because there would be no directors that would be left. Some seaweed. Do you want some seaweed as well? Okay, well, seaweed might be a bit more tricky. I'll have to go maybe into one of the kind of riverbed somewhere, or maybe scrape off some of that blue-green algae from one of the ponds, and then also just some hippo or elephant or dung that's been floating in one of those little pans for quite some time that we can use as this little seaweed garnish. What else can we use? Just trying to think. Is there anything else that you want? We've got, I suppose. So a lot of you are saying you'll pass on our sushi, but why? We will make it with love and care. It'll be stinky, but it'll be made with love. Maybe you know, who knows? Fish poisoning is not the worst thing. Exactly, whiteberry crumble to finish with a little marula reduction, marula beer maybe. Yes, we can make marula beer like a kind of butter beer, make it almost like a dessert beer that goes with your whiteberry crumble that you have. I would like to know, I wonder if you can cook whiteberries and what they would kind of reduce to. I'd imagine they're reduced to pretty much nothing, really. I mean, there's not really much kind of them in many respects, and so it would be kind of interesting to see the way it goes. But isn't this quite something? I tell you what, if nature girl, I think you've gone farther there. Dung beetle meatballs. Urgh, that's not ideal. I don't think that would be too pleasant at all. No, I'm not sure. We could do mapani worms as well as a starter. Mapani worm soup. That we could do. What else could we do? There's lots of different things. Maybe a well-aged impala leg. Roast impala leg that's been hanging in a tree. In fact, I know the exact one that we can go and make a stock out of. There's that impala that's been hanging for 2 years that is in the kind of northern side of Gallagher shortcuts. We can go and get that, and we can reduce that into a stock and use that for something. There's lots of things we can do, so we'll send you a really big buffet of natural foods. So Umka, you say whatever it is, if you get, I would imagine this would apply if we were Marula beer. If you get Marula beer and it smells like buttered popcorn, don't drink it. You're being pranked. It's actually going to be leopard urine that you are drinking. I wonder if it tastes like buttered popcorn. That would be a weird thing. I mean, obviously I've not ever tasted leopard urine and I don't plan to, but do you reckon that taste comes through? Or is it just this kind of smell? Because obviously there's a component to it. There's a specific chemical within leopard urine, and I'm forgetting the name of that chemical now. Oof. I used to remember this. I think it was with the... Hold on. I think I wrote it down the other day to make sure that I had it. But there's a specific chemical in there that they reckon is the one that passes off that smell. So I just need to check if I actually have it. Give me 2 seconds. I remember saving it, I think. No, I don't know what I've done with it. Anyway, I know one of you clever people. Judy H, I know you. I remember you originally posting it. So maybe if you can just... Is it T3, something like that? Something, it's got a 3 in it and I think a T as well, but I'll remember it eventually. Anyway, that chemical is what makes it smell, so I wonder if it also makes it taste like buttered popcorn. It's an interesting thing that when something smells like something when something smells like something else, the fact that they taste different is quite odd to me. I don't know why. It's just if you would think if it smells like something, it should theoretically, your brain would be tricked to be able to taste that same thing, but not. And I actually wonder if you didn't tell people that it was leopard urine, would they actually drink it and kind of notice that it's urine or not? That's it. So next you say 2AP, that's it. That's exactly what I don't know why I got T and 3 from, but anyway, it's 2AP is the right one. That is exactly what we were looking for. That is the name of the chemical that is in the leopard urine, and basically, like I said, that's what causes that scent to be kind of be sort of smelt by us. Tingy, have you finally settled? This is the longest he's sat since we've been with him, which I'm glad about. But can you imagine being at Chitwa now? If I was at Chitwa now, I definitely would not have gone on Game Drive, and I'll tell you why. Because this leopard is sitting, and to my left here, I'll show you where one of the rooms is, and give you an idea of just how close we are to what people can actually sit and enjoy from the comforts of their balcony. So there we go. There is one of the rooms right there. There is the balcony that they're able to kind of sit on, and they can watch out over this. It's have not only a leopard, but they've got hippos, 2 saddle-billed storks that are fishing, they've got fish eagles that are calling. So all of this kind of takes place right in front of Chitwa, and it's why it's such a special part or camp. And you know, the amount of sightings that I had when I was here and when the guests that I drove, it was really quite incredible, the kind of things that moved around within this area. It's an amazing place actually to sit and kick back and watch animals move around. Good. We're going to sit with Tingano longer. We're going to try and enjoy his company. Now, I'm really hoping for Pat that he finds little Hosanna. I know he's been giving it a really good bash over the last 2 days, and I'm hoping before he goes on leave, he gets one last little bit of luck.
Yes, I would love some company myself right now, some company of the leopard sort. So I thought I might lay it all down on the table and see if you guys want to help me out in this situation. I know there's a few of you that really know the property and you know our characters very well. So I'm going to tell you what's happened and let's see if anyone has any suggestions as to where I should go. So we picked up on those 2 sets of tracks, Tandi and Tolamba, potentially. It looked like a female and a young leopard. And they were heading north at Treehouse Dam. Looked somewhat old, but pretty fresh. And I think probably most likely this morning. And then they went north for about 200 or 300 meters and we lost them into a block. We lost the tracks. So we've come up north to Buffelshoek and no sign of anything there. And now I'm heading down towards the Voyatella Pan. So that's what I'm doing. But if anyone else has any ideas as to what they think might be the go, please use that hashtag SafariLive or the YouTube chat stream to give some suggestions. Now it looks... Oh no, that's too small. That is probably a smaller cat, maybe a civet. It looks like it may have been Tralumba, but I think just a bit too tiny. So, it's
It's really starting to get cool now. I'm sure Isaac doesn't envy us. I mean, Isaac does envy us, but we also envy Isaac. He's getting all dry. We're supposed to 2 days of rain over the last. And we have in the end. Ooh, kudu. Very cool. So they, so perhaps maybe down Chi the cut line. I mean, sorry, not Hasana, Taramba and Tundi. So yeah, maybe down Chi the cut. Maybe on a. Let's just. We did it. We beat those gremlins. They are gone. We do apologise for that short delay, but we are back on track now. So I did check both the pans and nothing, not a track. So I'm going to take all of your advice now and start to head out east way and see what's happening out there. I'm still also, just about once every day, I'll just have a little thought of, I wonder where those hyenas have gone. I wonder where they've gone. I can't forget about them. Yeah, both Lauren and I have formed a pretty close connection with these hyenas, and we're both on our training drives always just keeping an eye out, keeping an ear out. It's a real mystery as to where they've gone. I think somewhere around the southeast area, as that's where Corky was last seen, and I've seen a lot of tracks of hyenas around that way. I think there is a den as well where some non-Juma clan members that way have cubs as well. Oh, it's still dry over this way, but Tristan's wet over there with a water buck and a leopard.
Well, yes, we've been lucky, Pat, we have indeed, and you can see there's a water buck that's just busy casually feeding, what are we, I would say maybe 30 meters from where Tingana is. So there's Tingana's little tail over there. The two of them are side by side and both seem perfectly content with one another's presence, which is ridiculous in many respects. You wouldn't expect a leopard to be that close, or a waterbuck to get that close, but I suppose a big male waterbuck like that is really kind of reserved mostly for big packs of wild dogs or lions. Male leopards, while there has been reported cases of them bringing down big male waterbuck, it's few and far between. There's really kind of no need for it to be, I suppose, too stressed out, and Tingana's not stalking it in any way, he's just sitting grooming, and so that's why you've got the two of them kind of side by side. But Craig, should we just try and position to see? I'm just a bit worried about how soft it is here. I don't want to leave a big rut in front of the cap, but let's just check quickly if we can maybe get this in line so that we can have a really cool two-shot of the two of them together. How's that, Craig? Is that better? It's not quite ideal in many respects, but at least you can kind of see the two of them sort of hanging about in the same spot, which is cool. Well, I think it's cool. Not every day that you get that picture right there of the two of them kind of just hanging out. So Tingana's been a real kind of absolute champion today. He's been spoiling us with really kind of cool sightings of not only the fish but also chilling with the waterbuck this afternoon, and quite a special kind of way to actually spend time with him. Waterbuck doesn't seem to care at all, and neither does leopard. I wonder if the leopard's even noticed that the waterbuck's behind him. It almost looks as though he hasn't figured it out yet, that there is this waterbuck behind him and that he needs to basically turn around and he could potentially get himself a meal. He seems to be a bit oblivious, I'm afraid. Tingy, behind you, boy. So, Jane, do I think Tingana has a favourite side of lying down? Jane, I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. I don't think so. I think he prefers either side. It doesn't really matter. Whichever's comfortable at the time, I think, would be for him really kind of what he tries to sort of go for. I don't think he has a favourite side that he would really kind of want and to lie on and spend most of his time on. I suppose it depends on the terrain, depends on a lot of factors, but I've seen him lie on both sides regularly and roll over onto both sides. So when the one side gets a bit uncomfortable, often you'll find that he will roll onto the other side. But how ridiculous is those two? And the waterbuck is still just sitting right behind him at the moment, and just standing there as though nothing is bothering it at all, which is crazy. That's very, very cool. I suppose both of them are just deciding, well, I'm going to peer out this way. I'm going to look and gaze upon the dam, and they're sharing. Maybe this is like a little romantic moment for the waterbuck and leopard. Could be, I suppose. Raisa, jeez, shots are being fired here and horrible kind of things are being said at me about my fishing technique, and he's saying that Tingana gets a bigger fish than I did while I was on my holiday. Well, no is the answer to that. When I was with Brent, yes, but even Tingana caught a bigger fish than Brent as well. Brent caught little things like this and then claimed that he was the better fisherman. But in Zambia I caught quite a nice tiger fish, so it was much bigger, and Tingy would have been very happy with that tiger fish. He would have absolutely loved it. Now Lauren is saying that she spotted something. Lauren, have you spotted a hyena up there? So Lauren has spotted something. Well done, Lauren. Lauren is up on top. Well, hopefully it will eventually come. Now Tingana's dead behind the car. I can't see it, but Tingana's going to come and have a little drink, which is what we really kind of wanted him to do, and we're perfectly placed for him to drink, hopefully. Come, Tingy. Go to the water. Oh, don't come this side. Really? Now you're going to drink in a different spot, aren't you? Of course you are. I think he's quite intrigued by a lot of what is going on at the lodge. It's that time of the day where it's turn down time. So for any of you that have been to one of these camps will know that in the evenings they do what's called a turn down. And turn down essentially, go round, go round, go round, go round, round. There we go, good boy. No, not there. Where are you going to drink from, Tingana? Are you going to drink from the most horrible spot? He obviously has made up his mind that there's a certain spot that he wants. Of course he would go side on. Hold on, Craig. Let's try and get front on quickly. I'm going to try and use the grass as much as possible so that we don't damage anything in front here. Of all the places he could have drank, he had such a nice kind of perfect little lineup that we had for him that he now has decided rather to come and drink here. There we go. That's much better, I would say. What say you, Craig? Are you happy with that? Is that okay? Apparently we're doing okay. I'm just going to keep quiet for a bit. I want you to try and listen if you can hear his tongue lapping up water. Cool. Amazing that these microphones are that sensitive that they can pick up even these little kind of sounds of him lapping up water right next to us. It's very, very cool. I think so. Oh, sorry, Kirst. There was a lot of breakup in what you were saying. Can you just repeat that for me, please? Yes, Alarm, it does look a bit spinach smoothie-like, doesn't it? He's kind of lapping up out of one of these little pans that's close to the edge of the water, and it does have a lot of that algae, and this is what we were going to add to the broth, I think, for Kirsty's final control buffet that we're going to send them down into Johannesburg. Don't you think it would be a fine addition to that? I mean, Tingana seems to like it, so, you know, it's going to be Tingana's recipe book that we're going to use from fish. From fish to nice spinach soup that we're going to send you, and we'll... Exactly, he's taken over from his son now. The little chief's kitchen that he's got. Tingana has now obviously decided he's had enough of his son taking all the glory when it comes to food and his culinary talent, and so Tingana is now going to do the same and provide a bit of culinary talent of his own and show us exactly what he likes to use. He prefers to go the sort of bush approach and use natural things. Hosana's a little bit more kind of humanized. He likes certain human things like burgers and things like that, but Tingy's all about what's natural is what one should use. Shame he's thirsty. Shows you just how clever he is, though. You know, you would think that with Chitwa Dam and all the fish that he had there, that's where he would go drink. But actually, for him, it makes a lot more sense to come and drink out of a little pan like this. And so he's come in this direction instead, so that he can get safe water without having to worry about crocodiles. So for those of you that were a bit concerned about him and whether or not he would be able to kind of outwit a croc, he seemingly has had some experience and has worked out exactly how to go about it. Now that waterbuck is so close behind Tingana at the moment while he's drinking, it's ridiculous. He's literally just behind him. Look at that. Isn't that cool? And Tingana's oblivious. The waterbuck's watching. Maybe the waterbuck wanted to drink. Here we go. You guys going to have a little stare down? Hello. Tingana's not phased. And that's how many animals we got in that shot. We've got, basically there's a crocodile somewhere there. There's Tingana, there's a waterbuck, there's hippos, a multitude of different bird species as well. So very, very cool. But unfortunately, we're probably going to have to leave Tingana here. You can see the waterbuck is just going to follow him and watch him so that she doesn't kind of get a surprise. And we're going to probably lose said waterbuck to, said Tingana to kind of the lodge, I'm afraid. But it's just stopped in such a bad place behind me. I think what we're going to do is, because he's stopped and he's sort of laid down, but what I want to do is I'm going to go and watch the hyenas that are feeding off the fish as well. I want to go see which hyenas we've got here. Tingy's right up against the camp, and I don't want to leave tire tracks right in front of guests' balconies, because that's the last thing they want to see when they come into Africa. So it's also about being considerate, and Tingy's been giving us such a nice kind of show this afternoon that I don't really think we need to push it any further than what we just have. We were very close there, and then, like I said, very kind of Charles, who runs Chitwa, and also the Chitwa guides, to have allowed us to drive here, because this area generally is out of bounds. But Charles came driving past and he said it's absolutely fine for us to spend some time following Tingana around, and you know, the Chitwa guides did the same. So they're very kind of them. We'll also just send them a little update just to tell them that that leopard is very close to their camp. I'll show you now kind of the overview of what it looks like. There's the waterbuck is walking straight at Tingana, actually. How's that? If there ever was a marketing shot for Chitwa, I think that would be it. You've got the room, you've got a waterbuck, you've got a leopard. Isn't that cool? There we go. It's Chitwa's marketing kind of shot is the room, leopard and waterbuck all in front. And that's the reason why a lot of these kind of reserves are so popular, particularly ones that have water in front of them, because the density of game that you get when you have that is so huge. And Chitwa is probably one of the best of them, particularly up here in the Northern Sands. There's very few that have water like this in front of their camps. But the waterbuck is shouting a little bit, with a bit of a nasal snort every now and then that you can hear. Right, let's go catch up with our hyena that is busy feeding on the fish in front. It's a bit of a difficult one for Craig, because he wants to try and kind of frame out the room as much as possible in case anybody is walking around there. We don't really want to film any guests, but I thought I'd just do that, so we'll tag Chitwa in their little screenshot of their camp with a leopard and a waterbuck in front of it. Now, which hyena have we got here? It looks like a fairly young hyena that we've got. Spots look fairly kind of bright, and let's see. I'm still intrigued by that hyena that I had on Torchwood that was definitely suckling. I wonder who exactly that hyena was and which clan member it was. It wasn't part of the Juma clan, apparently. So it's not any of it wasn't June, it wasn't any of them. It seems to be a clan from somewhere else. But what surprised me was the proximity towards the proximity towards the sort of Cheetah Cutline area And that female must have a den fairly close by because it was hot. It was early afternoon, which means she wouldn't have been, I don't think, walking all afternoon long. But I wouldn't be surprised. Lots of hyenas come tonight because of the smell of this fish. It's heavy on the wind. There's lots and lots of kind of wind that's kicking up now, which is meaning that we're getting quite a bit of scent starting to kind of push through. And there you go. See, the hyena's going to trot down to exactly where Tingana got his fish from. That's where Tingana picked up some, and it's watching the crocodile that's to its left before it goes too close. So there's the croc just on the edge there. You see that? Pretty cool that we've got 3 big apex predators in one little spot at the moment. We've got hyena, crocodile, leopard, and there the hyena is going to start eating the fish as well. So as what I said earlier, the hyena shuffle. It's doing its dance moves. The flies are obviously irritating at no end, and so as they're landing on him, he's kind of almost hot-footing it around. Hyena doesn't seem to have taken to this fish quite as well as what Tingana has. Definitely not nearly as much relish in the way that it's chomping those down as what Tingana did. But I think it's probably because it's quite concerned with that crocodile. But as long as it can see the croc, it won't worry. If that crocodile moves, you'll find that hyena is going to quickly move as well and try and get out of the way. Now Tingana has gone deep into Chitwa, so I just want to actually try and get hold of one of the guys. There we go. Isn't that ridiculous? Have we ever put a hyena carrying a fish live on SafariLive? I would like to know. In all the years that we've been operating, it's 11 years now, I would be very interested and intrigued if we've ever had a fish carrying hyena live on camera. Kirst, I'm sorry, my earpiece fell out, so I haven't heard much of what you've been saying, I'm afraid. Joy, does anything prey on a crocodile? Most certainly. A lot of things prey on crocodiles early on in their lives when they're still little baby crocs. They will get hammered by many things, from birds of prey to massive catfish to even other crocodiles, lion, leopard. They've all been seen taking crocodiles before. So crocodiles do have a number of prey kind of animals, or animals that prey on them, should I say. They're not prey animals. And so they will get hammered when they're small. In fact, the percentage of crocodiles that survive is very, very small. When they get this size, though, no, not really. I suppose there have been cases of, lions killing crocodiles, and funny enough, tigers, quite big crocs, and obviously the king of all of the crocodile or alligator hunting is actually caimans, is jaguars. They're the ones that go after caimans the most. So they really are the kind of ones that really kind of hammer crocodilian species. But leopards and lions are a bit wary of them. Unless they can catch them on land, then they will sometimes go after them. But even that crocodile there is probably a bit big for any of the cats really to risk trying to be caught, because if that crocodile swings and catches a cat by the paw, it's going to have a big problem to get out of there and not get itself killed. So generally they just steer clear, and especially in a food-rich environment like what we're in, there's so many other options for food that risking going after a crocodile really doesn't make much sense. If you are a lion or a leopard, there's so many other things that are perfectly edible in this area. Right, let's just go a little closer to our hyena. What a magic afternoon it's been at Chitwa Dam. A few clouds that look as though there might be some rain on the horizon, which is also good news. So what's happening? I'm half expecting Hosanna to come waddling down the hill. And I say what? He's growing larger and larger by the day, and generally his tummy inhibits his walk, and so he has a nice little waddle on him. His older sister Tandi gets it when she's full too. She also has the full waddle, but definitely Hosanna is the one that has perfected it the most. But there you go, fish gone. Now I wonder if this hyena is going to eat another one. Let's see if it's going to go down and grab another one. I'll just stop here and have a little look. I don't know if that's why Tingy went towards the lodge. He was just thought to himself, no, I'm not going to worry about even dealing with hyenas. I'm going to go and hide out in that side. Now that hyena doesn't look as though it's exactly hungry, does it? Yes, we're talking about you. Any ideas, anyone, as to who they think this is? There's a V on it. Now, I remember one of the hyenas has a V on its side. Who is it now? It's a V. 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 It's a Oof, Lauren, do you remember? There's definitely one that's got a V. Let me just quickly run through these profiles. I might be able to remember quickly enough. Alright, no IDs apparently yet that you can see, but that V is very prominent. You can see it kind of in the middle of its sort of side. Why don't I have... Lauren, you got any on yours? I don't have all the ones that Lauren's got in terms of the ID profile. She's got quite a few on her phone. There we go. Carrying a fish up and going to eat it up here. Very clever, these predators. The hyena needs to be careful, though. That crocodile is cruising in slowly and is going to lie in wait. If this hyena is not careful, it's going to get itself in trouble. But it looks like it's going to carry that fish far, 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 far away from where it is at the moment. There we go. It's going to stop and feed. Now, if you look at the croc, look where the croc is now. The croc has come right into where those animals are coming, and it's going to sit in wait there. I think it's worked out. Hang on a second. Things are eating from here. Whether it might actually go after the fish, but essentially I think it's kind of worked out very quickly. And there are animals that learn fast, that there's a number of different animals that are coming into this corner to grab fish, and maybe this is the spot that it needs to sit in order to ambush whatever comes down. That's right. Crystal, so that's interesting. Always can trust Crystal for a good hyena ID. You say that this is a member of the Elephant Plains Arethusa kind of clan, and we've been seeing it since 2015 on that side of the world. What it's doing all the way on Chitwa, not really sure. Maybe it's dispersed and is now May 2016, sorry, not 2015. I thought I heard 2015, but May 2016. Interesting. Like I say, maybe it's dispersal, and it's just kind of cruising around now, trying to find its own place. You can see how the flies are giving it trouble on the feet, and it keeps like kicking its feet out. Like I say, it's the hyena shuffle. It's a new dance move for James Henry to learn. We know James is fond of learning dance moves. He did, what was the move that he did? The floss. Was it called the floss? Is that right? There we go. Lauren's nodding in improvement behind me, saying yes, that is exactly what it is. So we've got a new one now, is the hyena shuffle, which is just to kick your legs in all kinds of different directions. Now the hyena's learned not to go back down there. It's going to carry on shuffling off. In the meantime, though, we're going to send you back across to Isaac, who has not been battling flies, but has been battling a heavy Morris shower.
Sorry about that. Must have been a little audio hiccup there. So I've made it onto the eastern boundary now, down Chi the cut line. Nothing. And it's getting very dark now. There's a lot of looming clouds. They're getting pretty dark and pretty heavy, so the light is really not great now. So I think I'm gonna abandon tracking and just cruise now. I'm just gonna cruise down this boundary and keep an eye and an ear out. And sit up. Yes. Senzo tells me to sit up as well. I was getting a little bit too relaxed there. So I'm just gonna be swiveling just to see what I can see. There's been a lot of alleys on the property today as well. Obviously I had some before, Tristan had some earlier. I've seen many elephant. I actually drove past one just before, but it was just a bit too thick. Yes, I'm keeping my head on a swivel just like Brent. Keeping my head on a swivel. No, I love Brent in exciting sightings. It gets me so excited, and I'm sure you all were the same with Brent Leo Smith. Once he got going, so did everyone else. This is a really quiet evening this evening. Hardly a bird calling. I'm losing things now. Go. Stuart, has anything really surprised me since I've been with SafariLive? A lot of things have really surprised me since I've been with SafariLive. And I think a lot of it stems from the fact that before we came here, it was all book learning, obviously, because, well, for people like Lauren and I, we were in completely different countries. So how are we supposed to get experience in South Africa when we're not in South Africa? So it was a lot of book knowledge to start with. But spending more and more time out here, you really start to realise just, not that the books are wrong, don't get me wrong at all, it's just that things go outside the norm all the time out here. You'll see so many things that you just wouldn't expect and sometimes just can't explain as well. A lot of animal behaviour just takes you by surprise, and I love it. I love it. It's the best thing about being out here. And, I mean, it can get a bit frustrating at times when things don't go the way that you think they're going to go, but that's just nature, and that's the whole surprise. That's the whole fun of it. If we were out here seeing leopards every single day, I mean, that would be amazing, but I'm sure we'd all get sick of it pretty quickly if we just saw them all the time. It takes away that surprise when you really do find that something special. Okay, well, speaking of elephants being all over the property, it seems like they're also all over the Masai Mara with Isaac.
Well, here we are. The heavens opened after you left us. We were all covered around. We just opened the flaps, hoping the rain will stay away. But it's still here. Well, luckily, we've come across this beautiful herd of elephants, and they have decided to stay quite close to the road, as it is very difficult right now driving with the rain off-road. Like I said before, we are very close to the equator. Weather can change very fast. That is what happened. There was these clouds moving in, and all of a sudden, the heavens opened. There was lots of lightning and thunder, and we managed to survive all through that to bring you this live broadcast. Look at this guy. He doesn't mind the rain. I think it's perfect to mix the fresh water with mud and apply some onto his body. I've always told you this, you know, they have to do this every now and then to apply mud onto their skin, which acts like sunblock, and I think this little guy finds it very appropriate to do it right now. You can tell they've stopped still to listen to me. Yes, it is me, and you're in my path, but I'm going to let you do what you're doing, and then I'll go. For some reason, they've been staying still like that since I arrived here, which is around 10 minutes. I don't know if they're hoping to wait the rain out, or they just decided to stop there and let me not pass home until they say so. Most animals, especially big herbivores like buffalo, rhino, elephant, love, being in the rain. As I continue being here, I'll link you back to Tristan, who's got a very interesting thing going on between hyenas and crocodiles. Let's go back to Tristan walking down here.
Well, Isaac, you survived, and these hyenas are busy trying to survive the crocodile. Now, look at that. Isn't that amazing? To see these two face to face. Now, I think the hyenas are well aware that that crocodile is there. The crocodile's not exactly being too discreet about things, but I wonder if it might just launch at the hyenas just in a kind of... Oh, hello. And you can see there's a second hyena that's joined. So the first hyena on the right is the one from the Elephant Plains clan. The one on the left, they haven't ID'd yet. It just kind of ran in. But you look at that display. Now, that is a marker to try and say I'm more dominant of the two here, to try and almost indicate to that other one, even though this one is smaller, that is far higher ranking and much more kind of in charge of what was going on. It's now decided, wait, hang on a second, that this crocodile is too close. It's not going to hang around at the water, but the croc and that hyena are still very, very nearby. I do apologize about the wind. I was keeping quiet because the hippos were incredible. Oh, it's all happening here. It's amazing what can happen at Chitwood Dam. Sometimes there's hippos fighting in the background. These guys are kind of having an altercation as well. There you go, there they are that are busy fighting. You can see water's getting very thin, and that means that there's lots of kind of oohing and eyeing, and there's lots of issues that are taking place. So between crocodile and hyena, hippos fighting, Tingana, it's difficult to know where to actually look at the moment, and there is a serious amount of noise from these hippos too. They are really kind of going at it. Amazing. I'm surprised by this hyena. I would have thought when it saw that crocodile that it would have backed off, but I suppose maybe it knows it backs its reactions to be able to get away. It's when that other hyena came in and kind of almost chased it back that it made me kind of think it might just plop into the water and the crocodile might grab it, and the croc, you can see, has just left it. The other hyena is giving the poor Egyptian geese a hard time in the background too, so they're also around. There we go. That's a crazy amount of animals. Waterbuck, hyena, Egyptian geese, hippos, crocodile, and now, I mean, Tingana is somewhere there. He's just in the thicket at the back. We just can't see him now with the light getting so dingy. The hippos are loud tonight. Amazing. You can see the croc has moved up now. It's actually moved towards this fish. I think it's going to rather try and eat the fish than worry about this hyena too much. I don't think the hyena is going to go close anymore. I doubt it'll try and find a fish somewhere else instead. But there you can see that croc is kind of right on the scum layer of where those fish are at the moment. Is that Vlad or Boris? It looks like maybe Vlad. I don't know, difficult to say. It could be Boris as well. So you need to see the tip of the tail to be able to identify which one is which. Lots going on at Chitwood today. That's why I sometimes can absolutely love this dam. You sometimes drive here and you just park off and you can spend your entire afternoon, much like we have today, with all kinds of things happening and just one after another, kind of something to talk about. And so it really is a perfect way for me to spend an afternoon. I have a phobia of driving a lot. I don't like driving. I find it irritating to my soul, the noise of cars and things like that. I like to find a spot and just sit with animals. I know often we kind of spend time with flat cats and things, but I prefer doing that because you end up seeing behavior. And so sitting here today was exactly that, is we've seen all kinds of interesting behavior just by kind of being a bit patient at times. Now, Rosemary, you said it's been an awesome drive. It has been really good, hasn't it? We've had so many really kind of unique and interesting little situations that have happened. We've got, you know, hyenas eating fish, leopard eating fish, crocodiles kind of coming into where the hyenas were. We've had hippos all kind of jostling for position and making a lot of noise. There's been saddle-billed storks. Even off air, when we had the tech issue, we had a fish eagle come down and grab one of these fish, which was absolutely amazing. What else have we had this afternoon? The waterbuck kind of Tingana sighting. We had the marabou storks. There's been lots that has been taking place at Chitwood Dam, and it's been a thoroughly interesting and rather different kind of drive. It's not often that you comment about predators eating fish. Very seldom, in fact, do you kind of talk about that, other than if we're talking about, you see, look how nervous that hyena is. It knows getting too close to that edge is dangerous, and that it could very well be that it gets itself into trouble. But these hyenas are just going to pick off fish by fish by fish and just eat them. So, Chris Rogue, you say Koza was the one that was not impressed about this EP clan member stealing the fish, and I wonder if this young male is trying to join up with the Juma clan males, and that's why there's a bit of kind of interaction there. But Koza was definitely not very happy at all about the fact that this EP clan member was here on Juma. There was lots of posturing, lots of scent marking, rolling, but Khoza's now left and has gone kind of mobile off into the east towards the Mulawanini. So at the moment has left this EP clan member to have its fishy dinner, and then Khoza wasn't as trusting of getting close to the water as this one. Now, we are going to have to go into infrared. Unfortunately, it is incredibly dark. All of a sudden, this low cloud cover that's come over has made it tricky, so we've just kind of shifted into infrared for the last few minutes of the drive. I do apologize, but it helps us to be able to actually see what's going on and to be able to kind of film with a much better quality on the kind of vehicle. You can hear the white-faced whistling ducks maybe over the wind. A bit tricky to hear them, but such a nice sound as well. Not really, no. You wish. Okay, first, I'm sorry, next time we'll get them. Ah, you can hear them, excellent. That's good news. So they've got such a nice call. It's a beautiful call, and funny enough, Ali always tells me about that call. She says it's a call that she knew from when she was absolutely tiny, because her dad used to make that call even when she was still inside of her mom's belly, and kind of, I suppose maybe as a baby you just recognize it. She says she heard it all her life, and so she knows that call very, very well. But it is a beautiful call, and it reminds me always of summer, particularly here in South Africa. It would be in the Sabi Sands. You get them kind of coming up in the summer times as everything kind of floods and kind of gets a little bit of water, and they can then find habitat in order to sort of survive. But it's just getting to that time, I'm afraid, where, well, we have to say goodbye to all of you. It's, you know, unfortunate that our drives do come to an end. Well, maybe unfortunate for some, unfortunate for others. So maybe some of you are tired of us going on and on and on about all kinds of things out here in nature. Anyway, though, we are going to be heading home. We've got a bit of a drive to get back. Poor Pat didn't find his leopard, but I'm hoping maybe tomorrow morning he'll see one on his way out. He certainly did try valiantly to find one, and he'll have something to come back and try and rectify in terms of the scoreboard. Anyway, from Pat, Isaac and myself, it's been an absolute pleasure. All the cam-ops, Kirsty at Final Control. Hopefully you all have a wonderful evening or morning, and we'll see you tomorrow morning for the Sunrise Safari.